hate my life.
I hate your life too.
Run! Run to the floor!
Long John Silver.
I got cabin fever! I've got it too!
Now here we are stuck on the front of this stupid ship.
Well, it could be worse. We could be stuck in the audience.
You heard it up top. We are setting sail for hopefully the last time. We've said that before, but finally our pirate voyage comes to an end when we go back to a classic, a felt classic, that is, because we're talking Muppet Treasure Island here on Normies Like Us with your hosts. I don't know, Captain Colin, I guess.
Sure. Mike Pitt. I don't know.
And this is Long John Jacob. Arg.
That one I feel good about.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. Yeah. Guys, as Colin said, this is probably the most heartfelt, pirate movie that we've covered on the whole pirate voyage. We're coming to the end.
That's
Piece
right.
of 8. How many of these have we done? Pirate related,
Oh.
right? There's 5.
We did
And
5. Yeah, Pirates.
One
of the
piece is like a
Caribbean, and then
6.
Oh, that's true.
7.
Oh, pieces of 7. Pieces of 8.
Uncharted. that
Oh
had
yeah,
pirate
there's a
ships
piece
in
of
it.
8. There we go. We'll
I
count
like it, guys. This is
Yeah.
Mike. You for Christmas pushed for us to do the Muppet Christmas Carol, of course. We all had a blast doing that. And then we talked about what should be our bonus for the Pirates miniseries, like Galaxy Quest was for our Star Trek one. And we all sort of
Right.
weighed in that maybe it'd be fun to talk Muppets again.
Yeah.
That's
We
right.
kind of pitched some ideas for other genres they should be in. We're like, yeah, they kind of are at their best in a genre thing, so it was cool to tie them into the pirates because I remember liking this movie a lot when I was younger. So I was like, yeah, let's visit this and see if we enjoyed as much as the Christmas one. So yeah, but what were you guys' history with the Muppet Treasure Island before this rewatch? Jacob, you seen this before? Or I assume we have.
Well, I had seen it before, yes. And I also want to ask if there's any other adaptations of Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson that you guys have seen or have memories
Oh,
of.
fair.
But yeah, I've seen this. It's been a while, so I don't know how often I saw it, but I do remember it pretty well. So yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah.
We had the straight up, I would assume ripped from Blockbuster, 2 handmade tapes that my dad had put together that were Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island. They were in pretty heavy rotation. And as far as the book, I love Robert Louis Stevenson. The fact that the same guy was like, I'll kind of invent the adventure genre and kind of like come up with the best antagonist ever. Like, what if like a lowly, kindly man like turned out to be like wiser and like more scary than you thought he was? But my other side of my writing style will be, I'll come up with like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, just like the craziest, like goofiest idea possible. And to answer your question, Jacob, I don't know if you guys had these, but when I was really little in elementary school, there used to be those thick ass boy sort of adventure books that were sort of like toned down, abridged versions of stories. Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. I had all.
I
of
read those
I
as
had
well.
This one for sure.
Absolutely, I do remember those. King Arthur and whatnot. I think Robin Hood and all those kind of things.
Wow. Okay. I'm less familiar with that. I've never read the book, and honestly, I think this is the only version of Treasure Island I've ever seen.
So, Colin, you mentioned talking about Robert Louis Stevenson and the character of Long John Silver specifically. I do think it's interesting that a lot of common pirate tropes were invented by this story with Long John Silver. The one leg, the talking parrot, which really wasn't a thing before this story. So, and I think he's an interesting character because he's kind of he's a complex character because he still cares about young Jim Hawkins, but he's also conflicted because he's kind of a bad guy too. So I'm excited to talk about him.
And you love the actor who plays him in this movie. I don't know about you guys. Mike,
absolutely.
Tell me your history with this.
Yeah, so I've honestly never read the book or seen any other version but this one. This is the only Treasure Island that exists to me. But I do like it. I like Long John Silver, as you're saying. He's just a cook. That's why I have to have some Tim Curry in the kitchen in this movie.
That's right.
So
we love Tim Curry.
I'm excited to learn more about kind of the facts that relate to the actual original book and stuff because I'm kind of just only coming at it from the Muppet angle. But,
Absolutely. Well, before we jump into Muppet Treasure Island, I wanted to ask you guys. Last week we did our Oscar Best Picture draft, of
Oh
course.
wow, yeah.
And I wanted to say, have you guys been watching any of the movies that made you want to revisit any of those Oscar-winning movies?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jacob, to keep it light on this family-friendly episode, I did go back and watch Platoon under your recommendation.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was nominated. I think it was, but Apocalypse Now as well, just Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, sure.
That,
Absolutely.
those were real light watches, real good
Yeah.
time. They're incredible, but it's definitely heavy. But I do appreciate them for masterpiece.
The Vietnam
status.
War was, kind of a bad
fun.
thing. Hot take.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched Platoon as well. I also watched, first I watched The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2,
Nice.
also Francis Ford Coppola, and those are both on Paramount Plus if you want to check them out, Normies.
Nice.
And all those movies I had seen before, but not for a very long time, many years ago, back when I was probably in high school and being like, I'm interested in film. Let me watch some of these great films, quote unquote.
Classics.
Yeah. But I tell you what, they hold up. They're pretty good movies, those Godfathers.
Still never seen Godfather, still never seen Platoon.
Wow.
We did, to tell the listeners, we did a little math off podcast. And we discovered what the fan score on Rotten Tomatoes versus the critical score versus like what the total box office was. I'll let people know Jacob won basically critical stuff across the board. I smoked on box office because, of course, Titanic. Mike, a good showing there with Lord of the Rings. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a little bit of personal favorites. You know, the critics are with Jacob, the money's with Colin, and I just think I bring a little bit of heart,
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a huge blockbuster, and my highest grossing movie out of all of them was Schindler's List at like 300 million.
I hit $1 billion with Lord of the Rings, but again, you had all the critical darlings, so good work on that.
All mine were in the 90s for my critic scores, all 5 of my movies, and I feel vindicated about Platoon over Unforgiven as much as I also like Unforgiven as a movie. But I feel like, Mike, you going back watching Platoon, thinking it's a good movie, you know what? I feel vindicated.
Can I do a theory?
Yeah.
Can I pose a theory to you, Jacob, that I think, because we were both commenting, wow, it's so weird that my Rotten Tomatoes scores were so low on the fan side.
The audience, like Titanic,
the audience
and
side, specifically Titanic. I think, fan theory-wise, because it gets released more often, those movies get hit and rated more. So there's more of a chance for it to just plunge and plunge and plunge.
Sure.
You get young people, this is boring, They're not used to old movies.
But I think Titanic holds up as a very crowd-pleasing movie.
I think it's great.
Yeah. And but yeah, I watched Godfather Part 2, and Platoon. Apocalypse Now also on my list to watch, but I watched those 3 in like the span of 3 days, and then I watched Muppet Treasure Island, an equally good movie.
It's a palate cleanser, yeah. I had never seen Apocalypse Now, and I watched like the final cut or whatever, like it's like 3 hours long.
A Redux, yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't know what I was getting into. That thing is a freaking odyssey. It's crazy, that movie. So.
The Hearts of Darkness, right?
Yeah. Just kind of they transplanted it to Vietnam.
Is the Doors a good band, Mike, or is it just that Vietnam fucked everyone up so much they thought the Doors?
It's the soundtrack of Vietnam. The Doors and
Break On Through the
Allman Brothers. Yeah.
I think the Doors are rated. They didn't have a bass player. Their keyboardist played bass and rhythm. So he was playing 2 keyboards at once.
Yeah.
And there was
so
one
cool.
time
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and a stage collapsed at one point, and they kept playing anyway. So I think the Doors are cool. They're a Sunset Strip band. I like Jim Morrison. So
I take it back.
Let me give you a fun fact here, Mike, about the Doors as well.
Rated.
Platoon, directed and written by Oliver Stone. We talked a little bit about him last week. Huge fan of the Doors. Made a movie called The Doors, starring Val Kilmer as
not a very good movie.
No, but he was such a big fan of the Doors. He originally envisioned this movie because he was in Vietnam. He fought in Vietnam. He came back and wanted to make a movie based on his experiences. And so in the late 60s is when he started envisioning this movie that didn't get made until 1986. But originally he wanted to make it, and he wanted Jim Morrison to be the main character, the Charlie Sheen part.
No kidding.
Yeah, so he was a huge fan of the Doors, obviously used their music in Platoon and kind of cemented them as like the soundtrack of Vietnam, along with like, Fortunate Son, which I think is another classic Vietnam.
So let me
song.
ask this real
Yeah.
quick. We were busting Jacob's balls last week, being like, "You're
That's right.
blowing a pick on Platoon." Do you feel a little vindicated now, Jacob? And Mike, do you feel
Absolutely.
like, no, I'll back that choice up? Yeah.
I'm on his team. I think Platoon is really, really good. And I
Wow.
texted you guys too. I'm like, man, the Sheen family just can have no luck with Vietnam.
That's right. You got Martin,
Charlie and
in
Martin.
Apocalypse Now, and you got Charlie in Platoon, his son.
Mm-hmm.
But let me
Charlie could do anything. He was so good at comedy.
Yeah.
Truly,
He did Hot
I
Shots
Major
love
League
as well.
him as an actor. He
Yeah.
is. I thought he was incredible.
He's great. And Martin too
crazy.
crushed it.
He lost his
Yeah.
mind, right?
Mhm.
But
these
Colin,
early
let me just
roles.
pitch you on this ensemble
please.
cast of Platoon.
Tom
okay?
Berenger.
Tom Berenger, who's like the villain. He's great. You
Oh.
got Willem Dafoe. And am I crazy to think that Willem Dafoe was like a very handsome young man? I said this to Mike, and he's like, no,
Yes.
he still looks like
A
Green Goblin to me.
He
But
looks,
to
yeah,
me, he
the
was very
Joker.
handsome when he was
Yeah.
younger.
Pre
Yeah.
Vat of Acid.
Very distinctive
Joker, yeah.
face, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good-looking guy.
It's
You got Charlie Sheen, and then in the minor parts, you had Keith David,
Mhm.
Forrest Whitaker, Johnny Depp in like his third film role ever.
Mhm.
Who else? You had John C. McGinley from Scrubs, Dr. Cox.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You had Kevin Dillon. Tony Todd was in it in a very small part
Tony,
too.
the Candyman's in the
Yeah.
bushes. Oh,
Mhm.
So think about that. You got Keith David and Tony Todd. I mean, what more could you want? So great
wow.
ensemble cast. Just a bunch of guys dying and shooting and
Will you guys finish
Chaos.
up with the Brian De Palma, Michael J. Fox? What is it called? Is that Fortunes of Valor, Fortunes of War? I can't. What's that Vietnam
I don't
one?
know. I've never seen that. I don't know.
Sean
Me
Penn,
neither.
Michael J. Fox.
Ooh.
I was telling Mike to me the other must-see Vietnam War movies is like Full Metal Jacket, Stanley
Yeah.
Kubrick.
Of course.
The Deer Hunter, which is kind of about soldiers coming back from the war and having like PTSD and shit.
Haven't seen him. Chris Rock, though.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's one with the Russian roulette. Not totally historically accurate because Russian roulette wasn't really a thing that Viet Cong soldiers did to prisoners of war, but it was
Sure.
the original story was based on it was a Russian thing, and then they transplanted it to Vietnam for the movie. But anyway,
It's like Heart of Darkness.
yeah. But Apocalypse Now is on my because I've got I just watched The Godfather, so I want to see the trilogy of great Francis Ford Coppola 70s movies, right, with those three, and then the Vietnam connection with Platoon. So
It's all because
go
of
back watching
Helldivers,
these
but
classics.
I watched Full Metal Jacket. Again, they're all kind of tough watches. And Casualties of War, Colin, is what you're mentioning with Michael J.
Thank
Fox,
you.
Sean Penn, and it has John C. Reilly apparently.
Oh no, he's got to get out of there, guys.
Ving Rhames. Okay, yeah, that's gonna have to get on the rotation.
Wow.
So how do we connect all of these movies back to Muppet Treasure Island? Is the trick? How do we walk it back to the pirate ship here? Can anybody make the connection? I mean, we have.
No, was Marlon Brando in this movie, Muppet Treasure Island? I don't think so.
No, but the guy makes a reference. I could have been a contender. So
That's
we do
right.
it on the
That's how we
waterfront
do it. He
reference.
makes the Marlon Brando
Did you guys hear
reference.
We've done
the
it.
Star Trek reference? That was where I was like,
Yes,
this
that's
movie
fun
was
too.
made for us.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's
well,
a
I'm
lot
glad
of
it-
references that are definitely like these are for the adults in the audience, not the kids that are watching with their, it's for the parents. But
And I think to bring us back to the Muppets of it all, even though the Vietnam movies, check them out, I guess. There is something like the writing is really sharp here, and it is kind of for adults and kids. It's mostly aimed at kids, but the writing is like I think really strong. And the fact that they got bought by Disney, it's like you couldn't do this, not at that time period. You know what I mean? You couldn't have made the Christmas Carol and the Treasure Island. Like, there's just something about that era and the writing style of that like prime era Muppet stuff, and it's like it certainly has its own distinct kind of voice and visual language that I really appreciate. And there's been nothing like it
Totally.
since, so. Yeah.
When they were very faithful to the original story, similar to the Christmas Carol, they really like the major plot beats of this movie really follow pretty straightforwardly the plot of Treasure Island. The characters, even like Squire Trelawney and Mr. Arrow, the first mate, those are all taken from the original book. So they're pretty faithful in that.
Sweetums invented in the
Sweetums,
book.
yeah,
Yep.
my favorite.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of sticking close to the plot, maybe we should stick close to it before we get lost in it.
That's right.
And hop on over to the ship and let's try to find the map and some buried treasure. Rum till I float. On to the next segment, guys.
No alcohol on this ship. I'm Kermit the Frog.
Oh, I got to talk about that bit.
My hands are slippery. I'm a frog.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, so good.
You guys wouldn't
That's
understand.
funny. To
That seem like such? I mean, I know Jane Austen's Mafia exists, but doesn't that seem like such an obvious Muppet parody? The Muppet Father.
Sure.
Oh
sure,
yeah.
And it's all, Gonzo, I want you to hit him over the head with a rubber chicken. Who, me? It's
Gonzo
just
is
like
the
in their
Fredo.
little suits.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Gonzo would be who's the fuck up? It's
Fredo.
Fredo, yeah.
Fredo,
Corleone.
yeah. He'd be like, "Rah."
So then who in this is the Godfather? Who's Marlon?
Well, if you're
Brando?
doing,
Oh, it's
if you're
Kermit.
doing,
It's Kermit.
well, I would argue if you're doing Godfather Part 1, then he would be Michael.
he's
the
Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He
you would
comes
need
home
like
from the war.
Fozzie Bear would be Marlon Brando or something.
Yeah. Oh, and you see Miss Piggy is the wife role. It all fits.
Yeah.
for
This
that.
is great.
There's like a Muppet horse head in a bed. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Make him an
God.
offer he can't refuse.
Wow.
We're back. We're once again pitching other Muppet content because that's what we love to do when we talk the Muppets here on Normies Like Us,
Mhm.
which we are right now. We're talking Muppets Treasure Island. We were just pitching Muppets Godfather. I just want to say before we
love it.
move on from Vietnam, full Muppet jacket.
Wow.
Gonzo
Yeah, the
goes
Vincent
to
D'Onofrio stuff
Yeah.
would be
Which
interesting.
one's Joker or which one's like Gomer Pyle? Gonzo would be the crazy one.
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio was
Okay.
Gomer Pyle, the guy who
Gomer Pyle.
Yeah.
loses his mind, basically.
Probably
Kermit's the
Fozzie
drill
Bear.
instructor, but he's like really small and nice.
He's the Arlie Ermy
Yeah. Oh man. Yep.
drill instructor guy.
Yep.
About the Muppet Father,
Mm.
my pitch would be actually for the Marlon Brando role. That would be the token human role. So you would get someone like
That's interesting.
Tom
Mm,
Hardy, maybe
to
a
play it
Tom
straight.
Hardy to play like
Mm.
to do like
I
a
was gonna
Marlon
say,
Brando impression.
sometimes they get like that big bear that's in this one. That's he's plays just like a background scallywag. You know what I mean? The sort of like older
Yeah,
looking, like big chubby bear Muppet that they have. He's not like a human sized Sweetums one, but he's like a small.
Right.
Muppet. I like the idea of a actual.
You need the token
great
human,
actor.
right?
Yes,
And then you have
that's
Kermit
good.
as Al Pacino,
You got Beakers, the
Sonny
bookkeeper.
Corleone. Yeah.
A little suit. hat.
Actually, it's a Muppet's horse head in the bed.
It's Tom
Cartoon-
Hagen.
Wakes up.
Cartoon's the name of the horse, right? It's a great horse.
Oh,
name.
Consigliere.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Treasure Island. So the thing with Muppets is in the 90s, right? If I can give you a little background on why did they choose Treasure Island? Well,
Please.
so after the success of Christmas Carol, right? They were looking for other literary adaptations that they could do because that's kind of, what worked for them with Christmas Carol.
Mhm.
And they were actually looking at two options that were kind of the finalists, and it was either going to be Treasure Island, or it was going to be King Arthur, to bring that back around from those
I
young
wish.
adult books. So they were going to do sort of a knights and dragons and fantasy type of thing with King Arthur. But they ended up choosing Treasure Island, of course. And by the way, this was co-written by our guy Kirk Thatcher, who we've talked about before, the punk rock guy from Star
I
Trek.
was so
of
happy
course.
it's his name.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's one of the main creators, writers of the Dinosaurs show that I'll never stop talking about, which is from the Henson Company. But anyway,
Probably
He's still
why
doing
there's the
stuff
Star
now.
Trek joke.
probably
Could
yeah.
be, because this would have been after his appearance in Star
Mhm.
Trek, and he's still working with the Muppets to this day. He directed the Muppet Haunted Mansion that we talked about a couple years ago, I think. So yeah, pretty cool
I like
connection.
Kirk Thatcher.
Yeah, and of course directed by Brian Henson, son of Jim Henson. And yeah, so Treasure Island, of course, we had Tim Curry, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Great actor that we all love.
Is that the one where he's the devil, right? Yeah.
I think underrated Tim Curry movie is Clue.
Oh yeah,
Clue.
bro.
Plays
Yeah.
Butler. Yeah.
He's
that's
probably the
horrible.
best part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good call.
And he's always just fun when he pops up doing his Tim
Mhm.
Curry thing.
He,
Oh, yeah.
it's so funny that you throw it to the Rocky Horror. I love that movie. He's
Yeah.
a guy who makes such distinct choices. The look in this as Long John Silver, I don't know if you guys saw, he shaves off the ends of his eyebrows so they look super straight and menacing. It's almost like he's doing like kabuki mask work, Mike. Like he's doing like
yeah.
face like makeup stuff that he does. It's
Sure.
just so cool and distinct.
Yeah.
You can see a line too for his little kind of look here, and Johnny Depp making that more rock and roll too. Like he's got a swagger to him, like his little
Oh
setup,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
And of course, he's the sort of Michael Caine of this movie, where he's the token human. Not that he's the only human, of course, because we also have our young Jim Hawkins,
Mm-hmm.
played by Kevin Bishop, who I don't know if he really did anything else as he got older, but
Seems like
Some
some voice work,
television.
maybe.
Yeah.
he was one of hundreds of kids to audition for this role apparently, and they chose him. Here's
He's
a fun
fine.
fact though. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's good. Um, so originally they were gonna have Gonzo and Rizzo play two characters named Jim and Hawkins.
That would have
Oh.
been much better.
Okay.
But then they decided they needed the human element of having a real human boy play the character. So they just have Gonzo and Rizzo just be his sidekicks, I guess, that are just kind of there hanging out with him.
Guys, what do you
Yeah.
think? If they went through and did the Excalibur, is the human Arthur or Merlin, do you probably think?
I would say
Hmm.
Kermit would be King Arthur, possibly.
Yeah. But wouldn't Gonzo be Merlin? Like, there's the thing about King Arthur. It's like
Yeah.
all
Oh,
the
sure.
parts are fun. You want the Muppets to be all the knights of the
And maybe
Round
Kermit would
Yeah.
be Lancelot, and then the human would be Arthur, and then
Oh, Miss
Gonzo
Piggy
Merlin
and
or something.
Guinevere. Yeah, for
Yeah.
Lancelot. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Okay.
saying a human is kissing Guinevere, Miss Piggy?
No, that's if Lancelot is Kermit, right?
He comes in and gets her, but she's still married to Arthur.
That's a
I
funny
guess I'm
bit
not
too,
that
though.
familiar with the plot of King Arthur, but
Especially
yeah.
his head's just never in frame. It's just always shot at Muppet
It would be
level.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about Gonzo and Rizzo here, just kind of hanging out and just being along for the ride, playing themselves once again, as in Christmas Carol, but
We were really
also
playing up.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charles Dickens is the best character in A Christmas Carol. Like,
Of course.
obviously,
Mhm.
their dynamic rules. I think we even mentioned in A Christmas Carol that this one is kind of more of a, maybe I'd say Rizzo heavier movie, because obviously the rat cruise stuff.
yes,
But
yes,
it kind of abandons them back and forth. So it's not the strongest film for both those characters, I'd say. I don't know how
Well,
you
it's
guys
interesting
feel.
because
Yeah.
they were supposed to originally going to be the Jim Hawkins role, but because they have this human boy, they just kind of hang out with him. But it's not like Gonzo's like, I'm Robert Louis Stevenson, and here's a story about pirates.
Yeah.
You know,
Which would have been a take.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
instead,
think
they're just kind of along for the ride.
right, with the story being about like Hawkins' dad giving him a compass and he's kind of dealing with these father figures of Kermit and Long John Silver. Like I think it's better to have a human boy for that narrative, even though I would really like to see Gonzo and Rizzo just doing a whole pirate adventure, but I think it's
Yeah,
fine.
The number of times we've said human boy on this podcast.
a real human boy.
A real
So
human boy.
strange. Such
Not a
strange
Pinocchio.
wording. I enjoyed
But,
the performance by the human boy.
We don't know his name. We only know the Muppets by name, proper noun.
Yeah, I do like when they're like, "Oh, we got Rizzo the rat and Gonzo the whatever." I don't know.
Play it all the
whatever.
time.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, Jacob. You say that they're like, well, they'll be Jim's little companions. It's not as if they're tied to each other, because of course they do get separated at one point when Jim is taken to the island. They have a separate adventure where Jim saves them. And Rizzo's
Right.
like, "Thank God you're here," and then they go off to save more people. Where I'm like, they are kind of original characters, which is kind of
Yeah.
an interesting take.
It is odd.
True.
And then they have their own scenes, like when they get tortured at one point by the pirates and they stretch Gonzo out, which is a very
Yeah.
funny visual bit
Yeah.
that they do.
Yeah,
I could play in the NBA.
It's like, I think he's enjoying this. It's like, let's torture the rat. Yeah.
No, I hate basketball.
I think they're in
Ah.
it just enough. Maybe it would be distracting if they were the leads. Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
could it be too much? I love them, but could it be too much? I don't know.
That's why I think they change it, because we need the human element of the Tim Curry human boy relationship wouldn't work as well if it was Gonzo and Rizzo instead of a real human
Well,
boy, right?
I
Yeah.
guess then let me pose a question to y'all, because maybe this is the controversial story thing, because it's not just the Michael Caine where we talked about one human being. Jacob, you brought up that we literally have two, and our two lead characters, Tim Curry, human boy.
Yeah,
But we also have the mother character,
right.
which you go, well, what an obvious, easy slot in for Miss Piggy. And then, of course, instead, they do the sort of gender bent and kind of don't
Benjamina
fully
Gunn.
utilize. Yeah.
Yeah, a little strange. And I've always thought that one of the biggest weaknesses of the Muppets in doing these adaptations is the lack of female Muppet characters. They're very male heavy, right? It's really just like when you're going to female Muppets, it's like Miss Piggy, obviously, and then who else, right?
The
Like
bass
the
Janet
player
player,
in the
is
that
the,
band.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah, Janet's the weird one in the band with the squinty eyes and the lips, I
yeah,
think, right?
big
Yeah.
lips. But
What's her
really, they
story? I don't know.
I've
yeah.
always felt like they needed more female characters, and maybe now if they were like inventing new Muppets, they would it would be more there would be more of an equal balance. But it's always been very male heavy, and that's kind of a problem because if you have multiple female characters that you need Muppets for, then it's kind of gets difficult, right?
Like in Christmas Carol, they had to create Fezziwig's wife and then Kermit's daughters were kind of like original new Muppets for those roles,
Right.
minor parts. But like, yeah, you did have to kind of create some new
But they're always
characters.
just more pigs, Mike. Like, I guess
Right,
why not?
right.
I guess why not just like, just like you don't have the confidence to be like, here is a female character that Frank Oz doesn't do.
Yeah,
Right, right.
true.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a byproduct of the potential boys club, so to speak. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
all, but like the
It's definitely a
top,
product of its time before,
I think it
equality
really
was
is.
more,
Write what
considered
you
in these
know.
things. But yeah. Um,
It would be good though.
but yeah, we of course we have I don't know if she's Jim Hawkins' mother or just like the matriarch of this inn. He says at one point that he's
yeah.
like an orphan.
I'll have no.
Yeah.
We also have the Billy Bones character, which is another human.
Oh, I love
That's
Billy
right,
Bones.
of course. Billy
Yeah.
Connolly is
Yeah.
giving a tremendous performance this movie. Scottish stand-up comedian who I will award the Michael Caine Award as person who's decided he's not acting in a movie with Muppets. Obviously, Tim Curry's doing very good as well, but Billy Connolly, like losing his mind on that bed, dying, and Gonzo being like, "Oh, I thought this was a kids' movie." Like you do feel that
Yeah.
energy.
It gets
Yeah.
pretty dark.
When he rolls
dies in front of
downstairs
them.
and no, he's just yelling, "I got the terrors!" Like he's having PTSD meltdown, and there's like a Muppet
Yeah.
sign. It's like,
It
yeah, he's
did
going
make me think.
crazy.
If I was born in a different era, I think my job would be guy who tells stories at the bar. Like when they when like the night's like really getting going, it's like, all right, well, Colin's gonna get very drunk and tell like a long tale.
Sure. Well, of course,
Exactly.
you're the last remaining crew member of that fabled expedition of
course,
Captain
of
Flint.
course.
Yeah.
Shiver
and
my
I'm-
timbers.
No, and he's probably one of my favorite characters in this. Jimmy, Jim, Jimmy, Jim. Like that whole.
I've
bit.
never forgotten that, Mike. It's been in my life
Yeah.
forever.
I'm not
And then, of
Jim,
course,
Jim,
you have
Jim,
the
Jim,
black
Jim, Jim.
spot, which really stuck with me as a kid. Like getting the black spot is like the worst thing that could happen. And of course, that was popularized by the original story, Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And it's been a very common pirate thing since, right?
We
Yeah,
saw
they
Johnny
just-
get it right.
That's right. Not as cool as this. He didn't have Blind Pierre deliver it to him, which that's a great sequence. I love Blind Pierre.
Yeah. And that's all from the original story is that,
Yeah.
Captain
Really?
Flint.
Yeah.
Well, there's a character named,
Blind
I
Man.
think, Blind Pew, and it's, a lot of these character names are taken directly from the story.
Oh, I
But
love
you have
that.
Captain Flint, the fated, cursed voyage where they leave the treasure on the island, and then I think he kills the rest of his crew so that
nobody
it
knows.
can remain hidden. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow Billy Bones gets out, and then he gets the black spot.
But what
blah, blah,
happens
blah.
to him? What happens to the captain? It's never said.
Not
I don't
in
know.
this.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But like, so the Miss Piggy character, Benjamina Gunn or
She
Ben
says
Gunn.
she slept with him.
Yeah,
they
he
were
was
in a
sleeping
relationship.
around. That was a big part of this,
Yeah.
where Kermit's like, "Oh, him too."
What?
Oh,
I was
but-
lonely.
In the
Wow.
in the novel, Ben Gunn is a crew member of Captain Flint who gets marooned on the island and is living
Oh.
with the natives. So that's
Survives
all.
this slaughter essentially. Like it is an
Yeah.
unknown factor. And they're like, "Oh shit,
Wow.
you've been here the whole time?" He's like, "Yep, and I'm in charge and I know where the gold is and it doesn't matter because I've lost my fucking mind."
Yeah, he's really
dang.
gone. It's sort of a Marlon Brando Apocalypse Now
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
The horrors, Mike.
Yeah.
Wow, the horror.
The horrors.
Well, that's good to know that,
Um,
like you said, Arrow being like a character that's
Yeah, the
from books.
first
So they
made
are-
Arrow is a character. Squire Trelawney, the Fozzie Bear character,
Archer.
No,
Why
his
is it
name's
Archer?
Captain Arrow.
is Mr. Arrow, the first mate.
Oh. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Sam the
Captain
Eagle.
Archer?
No, it's Mr. Arrow because he's the first mate.
Captain Smollett, Mr.
Captain
Arrow.
Smollett, yeah.
Captain Jesse Smollett. That's right.
Yeah.
Jesse Smollett, yeah.
Pre-attack.
Yeah. Who's Fuzzywick playing? He's like kind of the guy who's bankrolling this. He has that great line, of course.
Yeah.
What
That's
are,
Trelawney.
dim-witted rich people's sons for? Like, yeah.
Right. He's got a weird joke where his finger is called Mr. Bimbo that tells him things, and I didn't understand any of that, but
Well, I'll tell you, back in the 90s, Jacob, when I saw that, I was like, oh, Fozzie's a word that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and there's something wrong with him. Like, it very much turned me off the character. I was like,
Sure.
You think there's a person in your finger? What are you talking about?
yeah.
I was okay with it. I did find it kind of funny, the callbacks, because it's like, by the time we get to the sword fighting, and it's like, is there? Like, like, how did you see, you know what I mean? So, like, that's
Not
kind of
looking.
funny. I had no idea.
Yeah.
he was
Mr.
so good at
Bimbo.
this.
This is Mr. Bimbo.
He hired the
But
crew,
by the
not
way,
me.
I
I don't
should,
know, man.
I think now's a good time to give my hot take about Treasure Island adaptations, of course, which is that this is my second favorite Disney Treasure Island adaptation.
Okay.
There's a movie
Yes.
called Treasure Planet that I
Mhm.
think is great. I haven't seen it in a while, but I now kind of want to rewatch it. And I was thinking we should have watched that and did a double feature and compared
Right.
the adaptations of Treasure Island, because it's a sci-fi adaptation where they're, instead of traveling in the sea with boats, they're like traveling through space. There's like wind
it's
sailing.
cyberpunk as hell, which you two
Right.
would enjoy. But Jacob, we
Yes, it's very
debated about it
cool.
because, of course, what's the other connection with that movie to the
Well,
pirate films that we covered?
That's right. Treasure Island, it has a story by, I don't think it's a screenplay credit, but they contributed to the story, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, the writers of the Pirates of the
Insane.
Caribbean movies.
Absolutely
So,
insane.
and this was pre Black Pearl, of course.
Right.
So would have been interesting to kind of compare the translations as in.
That was not a big one for me growing up. I have watched it recently because obviously Blank Check covered Clements and Musker, and I went through all those films, and they were great. But in rewatching that, Jacob, what I don't like about that movie, and I think is the weakness of that film, is they don't make you fall in love with Long John Silver. I think he's much
definitely
more
villainous.
despicable. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. When in this, when Jim is crying at the end, and he's like, you have to go. Like, you are kind of like touched in your heart. And like Tim Curry perfectly captures that scoundrel you want to love.
I definitely agree with that. I think Long John Silver in this movie is really good. And he's a conflicted character because he does have like a genuine affection for Jim. And they have this sort of bond. And then he has to turn on him and he even wants him to join his pirate crew, right? He's like, sing a whole song about how you could join us and stuff. And he's like, I'll never be a dirty, rotten pirate like you.
They kind of comment on privateering in that song because he's like, one country thinks this about us. Other people think we're heroes for fucking sailing the seas and blowing stuff up. I was like, that's awesome, Long John.
Yeah.
You're really selling me on this.
And there's a deep cut reference to the original story where, so in Treasure Island, Long John Silver at one point kills a crew member named Tom. And Jim Hawkins witnesses that and he's like, oh, maybe he is like a bad guy. And then there's a scene here where he kills. They killed dead Tom.
Dead Tom.
And they're like, isn't dead Tom already dead?
Old Tom.
That scene is hilarious where they're introducing all the pirates. I love that scene.
The woman with the deep voice, again, a joke I have never forgotten in my entire life.
Yeah,
sugar or whatever she said.
It was like super ugly, like
big fat ugly baby 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like Anna Maria is like the gross monster.
That's right. That's right. Anna Maria.
But
so
I looked,
funny
she's
gags
like
in that.
Never in the rest of it. I was like, they got to give her one more cameo. It's just that one single close up, and that's it.
It's like, so good.
So
though.
Well, something I noticed that I wonder if you guys noticed is that they seem to just like keep introducing different pirate characters throughout the movie. And I'm like, how many people were on this ship to begin with? Because by the end of it, they're like, are these new pirate Muppets and like humans and stuff? I'm like, where did all these guys come from?
The power of this film, and truly it is because no modern studio would let you do this, is that there is no gag that is not worth it for the Muppets.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, a modern studio would be like, no, Kermit will be saying that joke. But instead that Brian Henson is like, I want to do a close up for 5 seconds. That's the goat pirate. I don't even know what that little goat's
I
name
love
is.
the goat
Just
pirate.
going, I love you, daddy, good daddy, or like whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
after the black
Yeah.
spot scene where you're like, that joke is for nothing and no, buys you no
They gave-
cred in pop culture to do that.
Yeah.
It's just a joke.
Well, they gave so many of the supporting minor characters like so much personality that it's crazy. Like Polly the lobster and like all these
Kevin
minor
Clash,
pirate characters.
Elmo plays
Nice.
Polly the Lobster. Incredible.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say like just the reoccurring gag of the rats on the cruise is very funny. Like they're having this whole pirate adventure, and then there's just rats on vacation that are just hanging out too.
Did
Love
you guys
that
I
watch
love
the
stuff.
post cred scene?
Yes. When he's on the
No, I
island.
didn't.
I never knew it existed. This
Oh
is the
my
first
God,
time I
I
ever
gotta
watched it.
watch
Mike,
that.
Jacob,
Same.
it's Tim Curry on the island. And a thing
Oh,
is
sure.
talking to him, being like, I'm glad you're here because I was kind of lonely before you got here. And Tim Curry's
Telling
like
bad
angry
jokes.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, love
Like our
that.
pirates. No, there's like the throwaway gags. I wanted to mention one is when Long John Silver brings in to toast to the captain in the voyage, like, oh, this is a very, very rare whiskey bourbon that I've had from 1721. It's like super rare, and then they're pouring it, and I never noticed this as a kid, but they keep throwing it out the window.
Yeah.
By the time they're done, the bottle's like empty. And I'm just like, oh my god, that's so expensive, and they don't
They'll
draw
pour
any
it, and
attention
Kermit
to
will
it.
say, Kermit will say like, absolutely no alcohol on this voyage.
Right.
And he's okay, and he's like, but it's okay.
I'm just
Yeah, it's
imagining $3,000 a pour going out the window. Like, oh man.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say,
Yeah.
Kermit, quit being a buzzkill. Let me have my
Yeah.
rum on my pirate ship. Where's the rum gone? Am I right?
Yeah, dude.
He's saying
Well,
no
even when he's-
alcohol on this voyage.
Ah.
Come on, man.
Pirate
Does
We're pirates.
Kermit ever join in on a song in this movie? He kind of just seems like a buzzkill.
I don't think he's singing in this one. No. Oh, he sings to Miss Piggy when they're upside down.
Oh, I guess that's true. They share
Yeah.
the one romance. That again,
That's right.
Mike, want to talk about expensive shots? There's basically no gags in that whole thing. They cross-cut with the pirates loving that they got the gold or whatever, but otherwise it's a loving, tender scene between a frog puppet and a pig puppet telling each other that they love each other for like
Yeah.
3 minutes.
But they're like, we had to literally hang upside down, with our little arms. It's like the technical aspect just to get them hanging by their feet and wides, let alone it's so
When
stupid.
Kermit does the flips, I mean, I was shocked by those special effects.
Yeah. Someone
The
made an
sword
argument.
fighting.
Yeah, one of the best special effects ever done was in the Muppet movie, I think, when Kermit's just riding a bike, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a
Seen those
puppet,
legs.
but he's moving his. It's like, how is this? So similar stuff here with like the fighting is some technical stuff, and it bums me out that like Treasure Planet, it's like a dying art. Like they built this boat set 8 feet off the ground so they could have assholes running around with their arms up next to
Yeah.
humans. Like I missed that.
Now, this movie did very bad box office wise. I don't know if that's in your trivia, Jacob, or worth pointing out here, but this film made about 40 million in the box office, not at all reaching that, of course, 100 million domestic that you'd at least hope, but I'm sure it didn't get a huge international outside of like the UK or something. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, I
No,
would
and Treasure
say
Planet underperformed too.
I assume that's why they stopped adapting books.
Yeah.
could be. Yeah, I mean, I told you guys in the Christmas Carol that growing up, like the big three for me, Muppets wise, was like those two and the Great Muppet Caper, and you guys were like, "What the Great
Insane.
Muppet
Seen
Caper?"
that.
I've never seen that, but that was one I watched as a kid too, and that was an original story, of course.
Sure. That is
but
after this or before this?
that's before this, I believe.
okay. That's a Jim, not a Brian.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me look that up. But
Worth pointing out, there's one other son in this. I don't know if you guys know. Brian Henson has his brother John creating an original character. He is Sweetums.
Oh, John is Sweetums.
Isn't
Nice.
that you,
I love
your brother?
Sweetums. He's one of
Your
my
whole
favorites.
family does every intricate puppet. Your brother took over your father's legacy directing, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" And you're like, "I just want to wear a suit and be Sweetums.
I just want to be Sweetums.
I just want to be Sweetums."
That's great.
So to give you
That's
a
a
little
fun
history
fact.
on the history of Muppet movies. So of course we
Yes.
had the Muppet Movie, 1979.
Never heard of it.
Then you had the Great Muppet Caper, which is a musical heist
Oh, it's the
comedy.
second one. Wow.
Yeah, 1981. Then Muppets Take Manhattan,
Sure.
84. Then The Christmas Carol, 92. Treasure Island, 96. Then they went away from adapting literary and they did Muppets from Space, which I believe is the one that they kind of go into Gonzo's backstory, like where did he come
Yeah.
from? He turns out he's
That's
an
right.
alien.
He's an alien. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 99. And then
the
there's the
relaunch,
long
right?
break, before
Yeah.
Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted, which were the new ones.
It's so crazy that they only dipped into the horror well one time with them going up against Jason in Manhattan.
Yeah. They both
Yeah,
were taking
Muppets
Manhattan at the same
versus
time.
Jason taking Manhattan.
That was so wild that they fought him before Freddy did.
Yep. Sweetums v. Jason, dude. It was crazy.
Oh, Gonzo, we gotta get out of here.
He'd be chopping him in half, but Gonzo would like it.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. But that is too bad that it didn't do well financially, because that we probably would have gotten the King Arthur one after this one as the trilogy of literary adaptations.
Again, I didn't see this in theaters. It was just like a home blockbustery.
Yeah, it was like rent it from the video store.
It's like, I don't know. We weren't rushing to movies like this. I don't know what to tell you, studios.
To me, as much as I like this one, I do think the Christmas Carol is better. Like just as a movie, I think it works better. This one's fun, but I think Christmas Carol has more rewatchability just from being a Christmas movie too. You can always watch it around Christmas time, and it gives you a nice feeling, you know.
Are the songs weaker in this one?
I think so.
There's a couple standouts, but I think overall they are weaker. I think there's like one bad song, and it's just in the extended cut of Christmas Carol, but in this, like, there's at least 2 or 3 that don't quite hold up. I love the opening, Shiver Me Timbers, Cabin Fever's fun.
Cabin Fever's maybe the best song Muppets ever made, I would argue.
That could be the best
that
really,
really stuck with me as a kid. I've got Cabin Fever and all that.
I would put it on and do it for my parents while they would like make dinner. Like I would like sing along, do Cabin Fever as a kid. I'm sure they were like, okay, like get that energy out.
No, that's definitely one of the best songs they've ever made. It's like this great medley, and the 2 dudes who sell it at the beginning, I've got cabin fever, I've got it too. Like that's stuck in my head, that line read. Yeah.
The shot where it cuts to a crypt and the skeleton one just says, and then they died. And that is all that shot is in the middle of the song Cabin Fever. And you go like, how much did that cost? Like, again, you're like, the money they're spending on jokes that last 1 second.
Yeah. And the frame density amount of, too is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And the amount of individual, like unique Muppets in this movie is just insane. Like you're constantly seeing new Muppets in the background. That's why I'm like, were all these Muppets here from the beginning? Because like even in the final fight scene, I'm seeing new pirate Muppets and stuff. I'm like, where did you guys come from?
No, and they have some complicated oneers during the musical numbers where they pan up the stairs, you see rats like on a date and stuff, and it ends on a 2-shot of Tim Curry and Hawkins, and I'm like, what the technical aspect of this is insane, right? But
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Honestly, all the Rats on Vacation stuff I just really loved. I thought it's very funny that they're just doing their own thing while this whole pirate adventure is happening. And Rizzo's like he's like, I'm gonna make some extra money from this voyage, you know, get some rats on vacation here.
Like beyond that, Jacob, I would argue it makes sense in a way that informed my comedy taste going forward, where I was like, yes, that's logical, is that of course there would be rats on a cruise ship on this pirate ship. That's the funniest thing ever made.
Yeah, it's like they're stowaway rats, right?
Yeah, and I remember feeling after the end of this, because I hadn't seen it in a while, when, spoilers, you know, Silver's sinking in his boat, because I happen to know these were unsafe, because the bit was to inspect the boats. But then I'm like, oh, the treasure's just gone, nobody gets it, bummer. But then at the end, you know, you see the little rats on vacation are doing a little diving, and they're pulling the treasure up. So like the vacation rats, you know, are the ones who salvage it. It's so good.
Yeah,
I love them.
And again, the deep cut references to the original story is insane, because Mr. Arrow, the first mate in the original story, does get washed overboard and dies in the story. So they sort of PG'd it up a little bit where he comes back and he didn't really die. But that's all a reference to that story beat. So it's just insane how much detail like they really went for with this adaptation.
Yeah. And I mean, again, the Long John Silver character, Tim Curry, is having a great time with it. He's playing it more for comedy than Michael Caine is, that's for sure. He's having fun with the Muppets.
He's bigger.
Yeah.
That's typical Tim Curry kind of acting.
And that's totally correct for Scrooge, too. Like, Scrooge should not entertain the Muppets one bit until the very, very end. And, you know, Tim Curry's enjoying kind of the moment and interacting. Yeah.
Scrooge is not a big character. He's very reserved.
And
by the way,
gregarious nature here is good.
Yeah. By the way, so I said, Treasure Planet has the Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio connection to Pirates of the Caribbean. Do you
Mhm.
know that there's a connection for this movie to Pirates of the Caribbean? Do you know what that could be?
And I think an actor that could possibly be crossed over. Yeah, it's like Jeffrey Rush is in like a
Yeah,
backup in the
Barbosa shows
Sweetums
up.
costume.
Right,
Like,
right.
no, I have no idea.
I'll say it's not an actor, but someone behind the scenes. I'm talking the music
I was
was
gonna say
by Hans
score.
Zimmer.
Oh, of course.
Hans
Yep.
Zimmer did the music in this.
Wow.
That kind of blew my mind too. I'm like, Hans Zimmer is doing Muppet Treasure Island in 1996.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
Paul Williams in the last one. That's maybe why I liked it more.
Mm.
Hmm.
hmm
I mean, I do think this movie kind of loses me once they get to the island a little bit. I like all the lead up to the adventure, the first stuff like with Blind Pieux and like Cabin Fever. Once Cabin Fever's done, though, it does feel like we're kind of in a little bit slower of a third act. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Spirals a bit.
Mhm.
Basically, they go to the island. Kermit's just gonna be like, all right, let's just leave them there. We'll come back in a few years. But then they're like, they took Jim.
Mhm.
So they have to go rescue
Hand
him.
me my crutch, boy. Oh, I'm just so clumsy.
You gotta get closer than that. All right.
I want to shout out just to. I know we
Yeah.
just said he is big, but just to rewind you just a second, Jacob. In that
Sure.
moment where Mike said we finish Cabin Fever and we go to the pan of them singing together, that very real moment where
Mhm.
he takes Jim's compass and he starts to do a joke with it.
That's all
And Jim's
I
like,
have of my father.
no, that it's like it's serious. Like, please
Yeah.
don't joke about it. And the look on Tim Curry's face and the fact that he immediately shuts down of like, oh no, I do understand. I'm so sorry. And then when he listens to him, how old were you when he was gone? 7. I was 8. That's a great scene. That's a
Yeah.
really good scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I really love about this character is that he does like actually care about Jim
Yeah.
Hawkins.
He's not manipulating him there. That is all
Yeah.
true sharing emotion. And at the end, when he says like, jump on the boat and come with me, he does want another little buddy. You know what I mean? Like he
And
wants
yeah.
a
he
scoundrel
remembers-
in friend in crime. So
And he tosses the compass back to him because he knows how much it means. Like all that, it comes full circle. And
Jacob, did you
it's
ever
great.
read the plot to the canceled Treasure Planet 2 movie?
No.
It is about Jim going to the Naval Academy, and through some adventures he finds Long John, and they have to team up for the rest of the movie and like becomes a good guy. It's kind of it's almost like that film finally paying off that he is kind of a likable character, I would say. Like it takes them 2 movies to get to it, I guess was their idea. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I need to rewatch that because it's been a while. But I mean, I do want to shout it out because I think it's worth checking out. I mean, you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the voice of Jim Hawkins, who they do age up a little bit in this version, so he's kind of like a teen instead of a younger kid. He's there's a lot of he kind of windsurfs. He space
The
surfs or
solar
something.
surfing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
depending on when Tarzan came out, Jacob, that might be the first use of CGI in a Disney movie or for
Yeah.
animation because that was
It
the
was
big
very
selling.
visually impressive for the time.
Yeah.
And of course, this is John Musker and Ron Clements, who did Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules. So they were pumping out these
Moana.
hits for
Hits.
Disney.
Moana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moana, Princess and the Frog. But in the 90s, they were pumping out these hits, and they're like, okay, we've been wanting to do this Treasure Planet, this sci-fi adaptation of Treasure
Our
Island for
dream.
so long. Please let us do it. And then it was kind of a box office bomb, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Undeserved, because I think it's a lot of fun.
It does get kind of pointed to as like the inflection point, I guess, of when we stopped spending so much money on Western animation, like that and the Iron Giant. It's like 2 of these massively underrated animated movies that just didn't do well at the time that now have come around to be like really appreciated. It's like, damn, we should have probably invested
And it
more
was sort
in
of
this.
it was sort of the end of the golden age of Disney
right.
animation of the 90s, where they were pumping out like Aladdin and Little Mermaid.
A couple of years we're gonna have a Toy Story, and it's a whole different ballgame at
Treasure-
that point.
Treasure Island, 2 adaptations of Treasure Island were the death of 2D animation and Muppet movies for a while. Why would that be?
Again, if you
Treasure Island is
remember,
good.
our
Crazy.
thesis of Pirates going back is that for a long time, Pirates were seen as box office failures because they kept trying to make pirate movies with like Cutthroat Island stuff. And forever they said, oh, don't waste your time making pirate movies. It's going to be a box office bomb. And then Black Pearl kind of changed that sentiment about pirate
That's
movies.
bullshit.
Well, let me
So-
just tell you, the one-legged man brings only death. And that's what the problem was. They both had Long John in here, and they probably picked a different pirate story. You would have been okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, in Treasure Island, you had David Hyde Pierce as basically the Squire Trelawney character. He's like a scientist, and you had some good voices in there. So and I
That
remember,
Star's original series, Black Sails, which of course I brought up in the One Piece episode because wherever they shoot in Africa, they have all those boats still made and they use them because that's, if you make a pirate ship, put them in the next pirate ship show. But that show, Black Sails on Stars,
yes,
that is a Treasure Island prequel series?
Yes.
What does that mean, Jacob? It stars a young Long John Silver's on this Captain Flint journey, I would imagine?
That would be my guess, right? You think
Yeah, I
Captain
believe it's
Flint?
Bones is a character? That'd be cool, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's, I believe, the
Jim's
story
dad,
of. I was just looking at this before the episode too, but it's it's Captain Flint's crew, and Long John Silver is a character.
Okay.
Is there any actor in it that I could glom onto to watch?
Yeah, right.
This sounds
Good
up my
cast.
alley.
Man.
It's like Vikings because it was on like the History Channel. Or
Yeah,
no,
it's
it was
like
Stars,
Vikings,
I
kind
guess,
of.
right?
Yeah.
don't
Toby
even
Stevens
see.
plays Captain Flint.
Toby Stevens. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so, buddy.
Yeah, not.
Tom Hopper plays Billy Bones. Okay, he was in the Umbrella Academy.
Right.
Oh,
the
okay.
big guy,
Oh,
you know?
sure. I like that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get
That's
Ray
terrible. No, that's
Stevenson,
not
the
right.
late great Ray Stevenson, in this as well. I don't know what role.
Yes, Ray Stevenson. He
Probably
played Edward
Captain
Teach,
Flint.
Blackbeard.
Oh, he's blind
Oh.
with the beard. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That might be enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a huge hit, but like you said, it's sort of like Vikings or those kind of shows.
But but Robert Louis Stevenson wrote a prequel, or this is just a totally original idea?
I'm pretty sure it's the original story, but it's kind of like, what was Captain Flint's crew up to before the events of Treasure Island? You
And the
know?
last episode will be him just blowing them all up and saying,
Yep.
"See ya."
Yeah, I guess so. There's
Okay.
4
And the
seasons.
post creds is
And-
one guy
and-
hiding on the island.
Well, the postcard's Rizzo. I believe Rizzo and Gonzo are in
Oh
it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it ran from 2014 to 2017, 4 seasons.
Wow.
So I feel like it was another one of those Game of Thrones, like, in the
Yes.
heyday of Game of Thrones, people were like, whatever historical kind of thing we can get going.
Jacob,
Yeah.
Vikings in that show were 100% a response of every channel should have their own Game of Thrones. You are 100% right.
Yeah. The Last
Mhm.
Kingdom on
Spartacus,
Netflix, which is a
yes.
show that I really
Ooh,
like.
man.
Love The
Yes.
Last Kingdom. Shout out to that show. That's a really
That's
good
right.
show.
You did
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
You guys wouldn't understand, but
Well, I think.
Marco Polo, again, I mentioned in the Shogun episode, was
Yeah.
another
Oh
one.
yeah.
I got a lot of Anjin from Long John Silver in this when he says at the end to Jim Hawkins, "No, you'll actually be coming with us and going on trial." And he's like, "I'm actually allergic to hanging. See you later." It's like,
Yeah.
good for you, Long John. Get out of there, my man.
Yep.
Yeah. And can we talk about how Sam the Eagle has a pretty big part in this, which I feel like is unusual for Muppet productions, where it's like, we're going to give a really big speaking part to Sam the Eagle.
Oh, and it's
and
so
Fozzie
good.
Bear.
He's
Yeah.
perfect with
He's
it.
perfect.
Yeah, because we talked about his great lines in the Christmas. This is a school of business. Like that's it. It's just generically business,
Yeah.
and he's
Well, speaking of those two specifically, Fozzie Bear and Sam the Eagle, the
Bimbo.
only reason I have an issue with the Benjamina gun stuff is because one, I love Miss Piggy so much, but truly I was like, oh, it's such a small part. I bet by this point, since he gets the and starring Frank Oz at the end, he probably doesn't even like being in these movies or want to be across the board in them. He plays Sam the Eagle and Fozzie Bear. So Frank Oz is very much in these movies.
And I'll say
in
another
this movie.
interesting fact. So
Yoda.
Frank Oz, he wasn't available to do the puppetry for this movie. So he did the voices, but because he was directing the movie Bowfinger at this time.
Well, I
Oh
like
my
Bowfinger.
gosh.
That's cool. That's,
That's
cool. I
cool.
like that. That's cool.
I like that movie.
But he did do the voices, of course. But so some other puppet people. So he's kind of telling them how he puppets the different puppets, giving them the
This is how
personality.
Yoda did it. This is how
Yeah.
we did it with Yoda.
Yeah.
And then here's another sad fact for you. So of course Fozzie and Sam the Eagle have these big parts. Rolf the dog does not have a speaking
Not in the
part in this
movie.
He's in one shot in a background. He does not have he does not have any lines. And the reason for
Dang.
that is so Rolf the dog was, according to Brian Henson, his dad, Jim Henson's favorite character, and the character that he was the most like, even more than Kermit. Rolf the dog was based on Jim Henson. And so after he died, Brian Henson felt like he didn't want to use Rolf the dog in a big part because he felt it was just too soon kind of thing for him. So
Okay.
that's why Rolf the dog is not in this. Yeah.
What shot is he in? I did not clock him at all.
I think he's in a background early on, like in the
He's in the
tavern
bar?
scene. He's in
the tavern.
he's in a background shot in the tavern.
Wow.
Yeah, so kind of
Yeah.
sad there, but
I hate that.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you have Miss Piggy, Benjamina Gunn, of course, the gender bended Ben Gunn character. Of course, the relationship between Captain Smollett and Benjamina Gunn is completely invented for this movie. They did not
It
have
comes in the last 20 minutes, and she's
Yeah.
maybe in 3 scenes, and then at the end she's on the boat, and then we of course meet and I almost wonder, is this a Star Trek reference? We meet her Boer people, and she says, "I'm Queen of the Boers," or she says something like that. And they're like a war tribe, and if you look, one of them has the Klingon. What's the thing with the thing at the end and the Yes.
Well, of
No,
course,
or
there's the
Spock thing. I'm sorry. What's the Vulcan one called?
Oh, you're right. I don't know what that is.
Batleth.
No.
Well,
the
that's
Klingon is Batleth. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's the one with the weight at the end and then the razor.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yes. Yeah.
When fighting over to Pring.
Well, of course, there is Pigs in Space, which is a reoccurring Muppet bit, which is a Star Trek reference.
Of
which is Miss
course.
Piggy and some other pigs being like Star Trek crew, basically. So
Why
I
are
thought
there
those
so
native
many
pigs were
pigs?
kind of the Pigs in Space equivalent in this movie.
That's a good poll, dude. I
Wow.
bet that's true.
Yeah. But they
Apparently
do say that,
weapon's
like,
called a
5-year
Leopard.
mission to Bowley Go, blah, blah, blah.
Hey,
Yeah.
what's that sound like? They also say that joke about what are you saying? I'm gonna go to an amusement park based on a singing and dancing mouse, and it's like, when you guys think of Mickey, do you think of him as singing and dancing?
No, not
Only
so
on the
much.
steamboat.
No.
Yeah,
I
Steamboat
don't
Willie.
even think of Mickey as doing anything, honestly. He's kind
No,
of just like a
whistling.
corporate entity. Yeah.
No, Mickey is
Yeah.
saving Sora from the
Yes, I
Heartless.
think of him as
That's what
hanging out
he's
with
doing.
Sephiroth. Yeah.
Like,
From the
yes.
yeah, exactly. He's opening the door to the dark. Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I just want to shout out, like, again, set design. Like, it's a long lost art. Like, I'm assuming this was more expensive to make than obviously the box office, because you have to build these sets you can't just go to a location. You have to build them all from scratch. But when you do that, you get like the weird angled door frames in the tavern and all this like bespoke stuff that just has so much character. And it's like you do lose something with this craft kind of going out of fashion. It's just kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
All that
Mike,
character
I was
even in the
thinking about-
background.
Well, not even about how large the sets are. I was thinking about literally just the movement between them. And I almost wondered, got a tavern, you got a boat you're getting on and off of,
Mm-hmm.
you've got
an
a
island.
beach. Yeah, all
Yeah.
this fucking stuff. Do you think that was the decision to let's bump up and put a bunch more humans in this fucking thing? Because this is just a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real mix of humans and Muppets. And speaking of references, I was going to mention that, again, that Marlon Brando on the waterfront, they have that bald pirate guy who just has that one. He's
Black
basically
Eyed
there just
Peter's
to say,
Black
like,
Eyed P.
could have been
Yeah.
a contender. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Wall-eyed Pike. I do let that introduction scene is so funny to me,
Wall-eyed
where
Pike.
it goes on for so long.
Well, old Tom, really old Tom, and dead Tom. I never realized that dead Tom is being puppeted by another pirate just saying, here. Like,
Oh.
it's not actually him. It's just a guy pretending. It was like, oh my God. I've never saw that until this watching. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the goat character has so many funny
goat.
lines.
I mean, Polly is funny. Polly's funny
Polly.
enough. When he gets locked up, it's fine. I don't know. It's like, here's the thing. I was
Mhm.
thinking about, again, not only the sets, not only more humans, more actions, blah, blah, blah. You think about the action choreography in this, that there are multiple scenes of our heroes back to back fighting with swords, saying quips, which is
Mhm.
what you want out of a pirate movie. And then they do what I think we've covered a lot of pirate material here. what I think if filmmakers, young people out there who are writing pirate stuff, let me give you a tip. You want the cherry on top of your pirate program that you are making? Have a motherfucker swing on a rope. We have
Mhm.
so many people swinging on ropes in this movie. Puppets swinging on ropes in this movie during action scene, one take things like Mike was talking
Yeah.
about before, where there's things happening in the foreground, background, action choreography, puppet choreography. And if you want to add $1 million to your fucking box office, have somebody swing on a rope. When was the
Mhm.
last time we saw somebody swing on a rope in the Pirates of the Caribbean films? Like, by those final ones, they weren't doing any shit like that, right?
I
Well,
feel like Jack Sparrow does that a lot, just because he's always
But he
improvising.
digitally bounces. He stops doing
Yeah.
pirate stuff, Jacob. The fight with that figurehead in the fifth one is him just going
Yeah.
like, "Whoa," and just like
Mhm.
like waving around. He's not
Right.
the physical
Well, like
act
Mike
of
said,
like
like they're swinging on
being
ropes in the
something.
middle of a
Yes.
town where, like, what are those ropes attached
Yes,
a
the
motivated
worst.
rope
That's
swing is what you
true.
need. Is all.
to?
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mike.
Yes.
That was because that
Just do more
Jacob, you're
piratey
right,
things
'cause
on the
that's
boat.
worst.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree
Utilize
with
that. Buckle a
Yeah.
swash or two. You know. But
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's fun pirate action. Again, third act a little like we find the treasure. It wasn't here, Long John. Then they tie him up, and he just talks his way out of it. That's a funny scene,
well,
but it said do
funny.
nothing.
But I'll just once again point out and say, you know, Jacob, you saying that, or whichever one of you guys did, saying that first black spot scene's the scariest. I would argue this one, because I was so menaced as a child that they got such a great performance out of Tim Curry yelling at everyone to dare
Ah.
give him the black spot. As a kid, I was like, oh, you can like fight your way out of like being cursed if you're like
Yeah.
evil enough. Like that's
Charismatic enough.
horrifying.
Well, then he's
Oh,
I
like,
guess that is good.
I'm gonna kill you, Captain Kermit, and then Jim is like, well, if you kill him, you have to kill me, and then Gonzo's like, if you kill him and him, you'll have to kill me, and that keeps going on. That's
And then
great.
Rizzo's like, you'll have to
It's-
negotiate strongly with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
is, here's the strength of writing for children's movies, is that what this film is about is it starts, Jim thinks he has no one. By the end of it, he has an entire family. You do
Yeah.
incredible
The shonen.
writing of that moment, Jacob. And then if you don't trust your audience enough, you literally have Tim Curry say, quite a family you've gathered here, Jim. You know, like literally
Exactly.
he calls it out. And that's
Yeah.
that's fine because
That's
again,
fine.
it's a children's movie.
Kids.
But to pay off what you have set up this entire time with that moment, again, not a lot of modern movies pay off the things they set up or have
Right.
themes or interesting things they're about. This one does. That's why it is
Yep.
well crafted and good, I would argue.
Yes.
We open with I hate my life. I hate my life too. If I had a life, I'd hate it. You know, and like they're all three in
Yeah.
it together. We're gonna go on adventures together, and like through that we meet. Like,
We're gonna go to
extended family.
Zanzibar to meet the Zanzibarians.
Zanzibarians. I
Where
love
to,
that.
Captain Jim? Yes, to Zanzibar to meet the Zanzibarians.
Mhm.
My minor
Here they
nitpick,
go
I think,
again.
is that just the Kermit character, like Kermit doesn't have that much to do. Like they did write that whole love plot that feels a little bit tacked on, but it's like I wish Kermit had more kind of adventure-y stuff to do. He's kind of like you said, the buzzkill captain who is the good guy, but he's like, I just feel like Kermit is the main character of Muppets, and he should have more to
Should
do.
be.
Like
When he
in the
does the
movie.
flips and the joke about his hand being slippery, you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That
I'm
was
a
a
frog.
good use
I
to
got
him.
slippery hands.
But then you're like, the romance stuff. I mean, it's the weakest part of the movie. He just has nothing to do other than that. So
Sorry, Jim. I'm ordering you to give me the map. You know, it's like that's all he's
Yeah.
doing until he does front flips.
that's a
Yeah.
bad scene, Mike. That is a bad
Mhm.
line. Sorry, Jim. I'm ordering you to give me the map. It
Well,
is.
he doesn't trust him. He's like, I want to keep the map, to myself because he doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know if he can trust
I
Long John
know.
Silver or the captain. And that's again
A buzzkill
similar to the original story. Like that's straight out of there. So
Fair.
um,
But it's not dynamic for Kermit. It's fine. Like I get the plot
No.
point, but it's not a great look for Kermit. Like I said, he's
it was just
buzzkilling
kind of
on
a
the boat
boring
mostly.
character for him
Yeah.
to play.
Sam the
But I don't
Eagle
know
is
who else he
much more
could have played.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
who
I don't
else
know
could
if
it
you
be?
make if you made Kermit Jim Hawkins, he's too old.
But
be him, I
you,
guess.
Jacob, too old. Can I just say something? Do we prescribe ages to these things?
I'd say
Like,
Kermit's
wait,
an adult. And if you look in
Is
Christmas
he?
Carol, he has kids that are like
Always?
little frogs and little pigs with
But they can't. What is Muppet Babies? They're not fluid. They
Well,
can't
that's a
be
prequel. That's a
whatever
prequel when
age
they're
they
all
need
babies.
to be.
Yeah.
I don't know, dog.
Hmm.
because the belief is this is a play they're putting on or a movie. We all understand is they are real actors, of course.
Right.
Right.
I don't know.
Rizzo the Rat as they get credited as the Muppet.
They do.
Again, to go back to our Mupp Father adaptation, I do think he
think
works a
it's
lot
good.
as the Michael Corleone.
Because he is the guy who is trying to, from what I understand of that movie, trying to stay on the straight and narrow, right?
Yes,
Getting
it's
tempted
about
by
his
the
descent
darkness.
into the dark
Conflicted.
world of the
Final
mafia.
scene where Kermit says like close the door. Like you can just imagine like Kermit has become
Yes.
evil. Like can you just imagine?
Oh God, I want that so
Kermit-
bad now. I want that
Jacob,
to exist.
Kermit goes to the bathroom. He has to fish the gun out of the toilet. The
To kill
Swedish
the two
chef
guys, yeah.
is in the bathroom.
No, just a scene where we sit down. So there's a rat, and Rizzo's like, "What?"
He just pops up.
Rizzo, no, they keep spinning. Yeah, they do the Quentin Tarantino shot of like going around the table as you hear the voiceover of like, "There's a rat, we gotta fight," and it's Rizzo's just like sweating the whole time.
I could just see him like doing the puppeting like back and forth.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who would be Fredo and who would be Sonny and Tom Hagen. All the
Gonzo would be
characters
so
that we all
about
know
it.
from, yeah, but I feel like Gonzo and Rizzo would be like again just like the observer / bystanders.
but tell me actors. So Fredo is
Fredo is
that's not Robert Duvall.
No, it's
No.
what's his name? James Caan. Or
Okay,
no, sorry,
that's- okay.
Sonny is James Caan.
Oh, so I want
Fredo,
Gonzo to
the
be
fuck up
Sonny.
brother.
Okay.
You want who to be Sonny?
I want Gonzo to be Sonny because to
Okay,
me
yeah.
he feels like James Caan. And I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not a Jewish thing. I absolutely promise you with the Gonzo nose thing.
Is Gonzo Jewish?
Promise you. There's just
Whatever.
an energy that he feels like James Caan to me.
Well, James
Fair.
Caan is Sonny, the first son who's like going to
Not a
inherit
Okay.
he's the one who's groomed to inherit the business. Michael is the youngest
But I've
son.
seen the toll booth scene. Now, can you imagine
Yes.
a million chickens throwing eggs at Gonzo as he's in his car? And he's
I'm
like,
imagining it right now, and I love it. But Fredo is the middle son, and he's the fuck up, and that's the I'm trying to think of that actor's name.
Max
He died
Fonzie.
really
Max
young,
Fonzie.
and
Oh,
that actor
Fonzie
was in
was
like
in it.
7 movies that were all nominated for Best Picture, and then he died of cancer very young.
Yeah, was getting married to Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Yes, I apologize.
So that character is in Fazzo, right? It's really
It's got to be Fazzo. Like
Fazzo,
he's the
Fazzo.
fuck up, and he wants
Oh,
to
Fazzo.
leave, and he
Yeah.
wants to be a stand-up. He keeps saying, right?
And then
Wow.
Tom Hagen is the consigliere, that's the Robert Duvall character, who's not
Like
related to them,
adopted.
was adopted as a kid. Basically, he's not Italian though. He's, as he says in the movie, he's like, I'm German Irish.
Yeah, no, that's
Well,
Mr.
maybe that's
Beekman.
the one you make human. Oh, that's interesting. I was gonna say maybe Rolf then too. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think the Marlon Brando's got to be the human character. So I think
Yeah,
that'd
it's
just be really
funny. It's
Yeah.
funny.
And then Miss Piggy would be the Diane Keaton, Kay,
Who's
Michael's wife.
Who's your old man? Who's like
Mm.
who is your old actor in their 70s or
old
80s?
Tom.
Who's your godfather?
Really old Tom.
That's the good.
Oh,
That's the good
what
question.
actor.
I mean, I said Tom Hardy.
Hanks would be funny. Tom Hanks.
Tom Hardy doing
Tom
a Marlon
Hardy
Brando impression.
No, dog, come on. Tom. I'm saying a real old actor. I'm saying throw a Tom Hanks in there. Throw in I don't know who can act with the fucking Muppets.
Throw
I don't
Anthony
know.
Hopkins in there. He's in freaking Rebel Moon.
That's fucking funny, Mike.
just
Yeah.
just do it.
Or
Anthony.
no, you get Al Pacino or Robert De Niro, who played young
That's
Vito Corleone in
exactly
Godfather
what
2.
you fucking do,
You're a
Jacob. That
genius.
is exact. Once again, Disney.
Wow.
We pitched doing yearly specials. I'm gonna bump this up now. I'm gonna say quarterly Muppet specials. You
Yes.
do hour
Mhm.
specials on Disney Plus that are condensed, abridged version of movies. You do what other licenses? Well, we've done them all. We said Indiana Jones. We said fucking Star
Look, we've been
Wars.
saying forever, like they could be doing so much more with the Muppet IP.
It's insane.
Like the most recent movie they did was the Haunted Mansion, which is just based
Yes.
on that ride. It's not even based on like
Yes.
the other Haunted Mansion movies. Like
and you said obviously the connection here with the writer and the Star Wars guys. But Jacob, that reminds me what I want to say about the Muppet Father and Full Muppet Jacket and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
What I want to point out is the last film that Brian Henson directed was that Happy Time Murders. Now we've talked about that before. That was the R-rated raunchy thing. Did you guys see that?
No, that's with Melissa McCarthy was like the
Yes.
human, and then everyone else was Muppets. But it was like, yeah, it's the R-rated mature Muppets where they're making.
When
And
Peter Jackson already did
jokes and
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's
Mike.
right.
Absolutely. Now, for all counts and purposes, that Melissa McCarthy husband, whatever that guy's name is, pretty
Yeah.
much like pushed Brian Henson out, and I guess like shadow directed that. I'm not sure Brian Henson would admit that. Yeah, who fucking knows? Yeah, everything fucking
Right.
What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, Podfather would not be like that. I am not advocating for Kermit to say like fuck and like shoot people and that stuff. What I'm saying is, it's funnier if it's the Muppets
tone.
doing Godfather. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's funny if you stay in their world,
And like taking it
That's
seriously, but also
comedy.
there's a lot of
Yes.
sight gags and various jokes and stuff.
Imagine the requests being made to him on the daughter's wedding day. Just the cast of characters that rotate through his
Mike.
door. You know?
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
I might
my
have to
gosh.
watch The Godfather now, just so we can write the soft
Rolf
pitch.
is-
That's how we get you to watch it, is to relate it to the Muppets. And
Yeah,
then-
you get you get Rolf walking away, says, "Get this dog a bone," and like that's it. You know, his
But now that
request
yeah,
to us.
now that I think about it, getting Robert De Niro, who played again young
It's
Vito
what it has to
Corleone in Godfather Part 2, who he's doing
You
a
nailed it.
Marlon
Yeah.
Brando impression essentially in that movie. Now he's old. He's like the
He
age.
finally he was him in 2. He finally gets to be the old version. Jake.
Uh-huh.
yeah, it
Canon
makes too much
2.
sense.
It makes too
Jeez,
much
oh man,
sense. Jesus.
I love it.
Could they get?
Did you guys
they would
watch
need to get
The
the
Offer?
rights from
You guys didn't,
Paramount,
right?
I guess. No, I was thinking about that
You
since I've
should,
watched
man.
the first 2. Now I need to watch Godfather Part 3, which I've never seen and is notorious
I've
for being a bad
read-
one.
I have
Yeah.
not read The Godfather. I have read a couple Mario Puzo books because they
Interesting.
are filthy.
Oh
They
yeah.
are.
Mm.
Let me tell you, filthy dogs. And he was the first guy. He wrote the Superman movie. He wrote like a 400-page script that they were like, "We have to fire you. You're insane."
Well, it's interesting.
Jeez.
He wrote the book The Godfather in the like 68 or something,
Yeah.
and co-wrote the screenplay for The Godfather with Francis Ford
Oh,
Coppola.
sure.
So he had a lot of input on the movies. But the first 2 movies came out within a couple of years of each other in the 70s, 72 and 74, and then later on in like 90 something they made Part 3 because the studio was like, "Come on, Francis, come on, you want to make a Part 3," which is notoriously bad. They had he cast his daughter Sofia Coppola as Michael Corleone's daughter, originally played by Winona Ryder.
Mm.
And it's made fun of a lot as like not a good movie, but I've
Andy
never seen it, so I
Garcia.
might have to check it out. Yeah,
Mm.
and then
Well, he
watch
just
The
remade
Offer.
it or whatever. Just watch the new one.
You recut it, yeah, as called The Death of Michael Corleone Coda type thing. So, yeah, it's all on Paramount Plus, which is the other thing. They would have to get the rights from Paramount somehow. I'm sure Disney
Oh,
could
it's
work
coming
out.
soon.
I
Yeah.
love that we're very seriously like, look, we've got.
Look, I'm
we
gonna
got
write
financial
to Brian Henson and say, "Hey,
questions.
I've got a
Check this
$1
out.
million idea for
Look,
you."
Disney is going to love this. 1, they have to pay Paramount money. 2, it is not in their branding at all.
Yes.
Kids are gonna love these Godfather references. I'm telling you.
The Muppets aren't for kids. They're for people our age who grew up with the Muppets.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah.
Mike,
Yeah.
you made that point last time in our Christmas episode, and
Yeah.
I stand by you saying that, dog. That is a very true thing.
What we need to do is get
Just
freaking
Sesame Street. I mean, that's
Jason
for
Segel
kids.
on board, right?
Yeah.
Right to Jason
Yeah, I
Segel, be
don't
like,
know.
"Hey, man,
I don't know, Jason.
you're the Muppet guy, right?"
You always talk about that one. I've completely blocked that one out of my mind, dog. And whatever, I've never saw the one that came after the Europe.
Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're the Muppets Most Wanted writing team because I think we are actually the Muppet guys.
Yeah, just give us the Muppet IP. We would do so much more with it than you.
Sell
are,
it to
Disney.
Paramount. We'll shop a deal. We'll get the Muppet Father.
Yeah.
I would never stop. I would never stop writing Muppet stuff.
I would never.
just
not
insane
have
to me. I mean, I guess
motivation
they
and
don't-
ideas.
They don't sell that well these days, but they try to make they've made various TV shows, like an SNL type show, like different sketch comedy, and then behind the scenes type shows where they're working on the set of
Which
an
is
SNL type
sorta like
movie,
the
right?
original Muppet show from the 70s. You know, it's like we're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
a late night show.
But 30 Rock. Can you?
Yeah.
Here's my answer to that, Jacob. Then, because if they're not selling in movies or TV shows, if that's not working, let me ask you guys this: can you just buy a Muppet? Like, can you buy a full replica of Kermit? Like, can
I'm
a
sure you
kid just
could, yeah.
get that? Well,
How
then
much
just
can you
sell
get one?
merch.
Maybe not like a film
merch.
accurate like replica of the ones they use for filming, but you can definitely get merch of the Muppets or like lookalikes.
They're certainly not pushed, probably because they actually compete with Disney's other kid-friendly. I'm sure it's like
But Mickey? Again, they don't use the motherfucker.
Well, he's free now. Well, at least Steamboat Willie.
I just think they fell out of fashion and kids
murdered
aren't
now,
into
Mike.
Muppets these days. And
Yeah.
you know, that last movie, Muppets Most Wanted, that was in 2014. That was 10 years ago. So what are they doing?
We
They're
haven't
doing
seen a Muppets movie in 10 years other than these weird TV specials that are,
Yeah.
you know, they don't know what to do with.
And everybody that's
Interesting.
doing it is retiring and getting old. Like the craft is on the verge of extinction, I think. But actually,
Kevin Clash like cannot come to these sets, dog. Like he is like a time bomb for them. So
and then we have
know.
Adam Savage recently went to the Jim Henson thing and saw the process of how they make Muppets. He got a Muppet of himself made. He really likes this stuff too. So I got to see a little bit of kind of the studio. It does seem like a smaller thing, but like there's people who are passionate. There's no money.
Yeah.
Like, how do you drum up interest is the question.
Again, it's just not popular with the kids these days, so it's not going to make a lot of money. It's popular with like people in their 30s and 40s that grew up with the Muppets, right?
So yeah, what do you do?
So what are you going to do?
It's
to
like
bring it
how
back-
many times can you perform Rainbow Connection at the Oscars? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's kind of like the only card they have to play still, unfortunately.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
even if they made like a Pigs in Space feature that was like a Star Trek parody, like
Dog.
that would be awesome.
But then we got to deal with Paramount again. So they could do Muppet Star Wars. That's easy and probably a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
They could do
But
so much.
It's insane that they haven't done Muppet Star Wars. It is insane.
It's criminal.
Yeah.
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 You're giving everything
We
else
got
a
a,
bad
we got a
Star
Family
Wars.
Guy Star Wars before we got a Muppet Star Wars.
It would be
Yeah.
perfect. Luke Pondwalker. Guys, it's right there. Give it to me.
Yeah, Fonzie would be Han Solo or
Princess
something.
Piggy giving the business to Darth Vader, actual guy in a big Proust-sized suit, you know? Like, it's great.
Yeah.
But like if they
then you have-
are having this trouble with Star Wars, like getting kids into Star Wars now, like they've admitted, like kids
Mhm.
don't watch the new trilogy and stuff, and like clearly like Ahsoka and stuff that is not made for kids. Or
No.
like, isn't the most obvious idea to like put it through a children's filter? Like, isn't that what the Muppets is?
Make it goofy. Yeah. You
Yeah.
got the Egg Star. It's a big
You got
chicken
Yoda.
running around.
Oh
You got
my!
Frank Oz
guys.
voice Yoda.
I
and
know,
then-
I know.
I get worried that you guys seem like an infinite well of Muppet ideas. Like it is truly worrying how quickly and how much this stuff seeps out of your pores.
Well,
It just seems
Gonzo
like they're
and
wasting
Rizzo
the
are
IP.
C-3PO and R2-D2. Obviously, with Gonzo
Yeah.
being R2-D2, Rizzo being nervous all the time. He pilots a little
Yes.
robot thing. Like,
Yes.
come on, guys.
100%.
I would say Obi-Wan is the human where you get like an old Alec Guinness actor to
Oh.
be
No,
Obi-Wan.
Ewan McGregor.
Hey!
It's Ewan McGregor.
Gonzo saying, "Hey,
Yes.
Riz do T2 or whatever he goes by.
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to be talking with little beeps? Yeah, I guess I am, but yeah, this is easier for me. Like it's just like
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
like oh my god,
Yeah.
I want
yeah.
this more than
They
anything.
could do so much more.
Oh, Sweetums is Chewbacca. It's so easy.
Sweetums is Chewbacca, Mike.
I was saying,
Sweetums
yeah,
is-
Fozzie Bear is Han Solo.
Oh, Foz
Yes.
Solo.
That's
Solo.
funny that he's a little furry thing and he's got an even bigger guy. who's
Furry
a furry
thing.
thing.
Oh, wow.
And then Darth Vader, you could have, I don't even know.
That's
like,
a human-sized person in a David Prowse with James Earl Jones voice.
Yeah.
I almost think, is it maybe funnier to have Grand Moff Tarkin be the one human? Because it's like
Oh
what
my
is that
gosh.
for like that movie? It's like what, like why would you choose that guy?
But then you
Like,
could give
yeah.
that to Sam the Eagle. That's pretty good too.
I mean, I
Mike,
do think the idea
Sam
of,
the Eagle would have to be Grand Moff Tarkin.
Just
That's
saying.
incredible.
I mean, I love your
Yeah.
idea of Ewan McGregor being Obi-Wan and he's just acting with a
Yes.
bunch of Muppets. I do love
And
that.
I want the whole
Yes.
crew of the Death Star to be chickens in that little well on the sides.
Yeah.
They're all just chickens with little hats, you know?
Little white stormtrooper armors on chickens. That is
Oh,
so
man.
funny.
Get Hayden Christensen to be Darth Vader wearing the Darth
Yo.
Vader costume.
No.
Guys,
Man,
it's printing
come
money,
on.
Disney.
Disney,
It's
what
like-
are you doing?
You hear all those stories about how like modern comedians and actors, it's like when they do get to do like I'm Taylor Swift and I get to duet with Kermit, singing Rainbow Connection. Like truly, like every person makes a post where it's like I know it's a guy with a hand, but like I talked to Kermit the whole time. Like I just pretended he wasn't there, and
They
like
stay in
you know
character, yeah.
Yeah.
When Fozzie guest starred on At Midnight, like we were all like Fozzie, like you're my favorite, and like I told him he's my favorite comedian. Like the reverence people have, like I know we're joking. I know it seems like the easy pull that we keep being like Robert De Niro as he would love to come back to this.
Right,
Like I
yeah.
truly do feel
And
like
he acted in the
Ewan
Looney
McGregor.
Tunes movie. I'm sure he would do
And he
Muppets.
did Rocky and Bullwinkle, excuse
Yeah.
me. And I would argue anybody who did Space Jam 2, don't you dare act like you can't do like a Muppet. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Don
it
Cheadle.
just seems like wouldn't Ewan McGregor just be tickled to be the only human being surrounded by these little motherfuckers? Wouldn't that be a once in a lifetime opportunity?
Yeah, I think so.
Also to reprise a role that he's kind of known for in a different way, and yeah, it writes itself. Like the cantina scene. I mean,
Just
Oh my
imagining
God.
it's endless.
Kermit as Luke
Yes.
Skywalker
Yes.
going out to Tatooine,
Yes.
looking up at the two suns. I mean, come on.
I can just
Yes.
see it. Yeah.
Mark Hamill
Little
should
stick
definitely
arms.
play the guy who says, "I don't like you" to Kermit, and my friend doesn't like you either. I
Yeah.
think that would be super
Ah,
funny.
that's good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, get Mark Hamill in there for a cameo. I mean, come on. Again, they're wasting the Muppets IP and they're wasting the Star Wars IP right now because they're not doing that much. They're gonna make some, Mandalorian movie, but
Oh my God.
Marvel.
I just want to pitch one more. You get Harrison Ford, you throw him all the money, and he just, we don't serve your kind here. The other droids will wait outside, and that's the only shot he's in.
It's so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Tell
good.
me that movie wouldn't make like
Waka waka.
$1 million. I mean, $1 million
For what
isn't
we
that much.
spend on it, it'll make 100 million if you spent 30 on
well,
it.
one. Let me say
Yeah.
this to you guys: if you think any of these are going in theaters, you're dreaming. This would
No,
be
no, no.
Go
Disney
straight
Plus
to Disney Plus,
streaming
but
event. Yes.
they'd be
But
huge hits on Disney
8
Plus.
billion views or every 20 seconds or whatever dumbass metric you fucking idiots need.
Yeah.
Yes, you would get it.
You tell me
Well,
that
this
wouldn't
is-
do better than Muppet Haunted Mansion? Come on.
It would the
When do-
minute they revealed the character, like they announced it and they showed pictures of what everybody was dressing of, it would break the internet. Like that would be the story that day. Would be like, can you believe Kermit's wearing the little Luke Skywalker outfit? That's so cute.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. They have all that shit laying around because they do nothing but stay on Tatooine in the fucking Death Star. Like, they can't get past it. You already
Right.
have the sets and the volume. It wouldn't cost you much to fucking
Yes.
do
Well,
it.
I think the thing
Yeah.
is they're afraid of diluting the brand of Star Wars,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
got bad news for you guys. It's already
late.
pretty diluted with these fucking
So-
streaming shows.
I think
I
this
don't
would
know.
focus it.
So
Yeah.
in specifically, because you sang the Family Guy thing. Like, let's say all those choices were made pre-Disney merger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Kathleen Kennedy control, she flat out said the number one priority, she said day one was, we are stopping the stormtroopers who do hip-hop dancing at Disneyland. That is over. Which was a thing that was licensed to their park, right? Just in the before they merged days. Because she said, we're not making fun of Star Wars. We're strengthening the brand.
Sure.
I would argue you weakened it by putting it on such a high pedestal. The
Yeah.
fact that it's not able to have fun and be this thing that we can all like enjoy and laugh about. Muppets would bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, yeah. I mean, there's serious Star Wars projects and there's lighter Star Wars projects. I mean, George Lucas made the fucking Star Wars holiday
Yes.
special.
Which is what this is. That is what we're
Yes.
pitching, essentially.
Right.
What band is playing at Jabba's Palace? The only one we got.
Yep.
That's right.
You
Animal
know?
on the drums.
Janet looks like one of
Yeah.
the Jizz players.
Yeah, right.
They'd be playing some
Jeez.
jizz.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
It's such a
She
waste
looks
of
like
time.
the
yeah.
fiddling nodes. I think that's what their name is.
The modal
Fiddling
Right.
nodes.
The
Modal
modal
nodes,
nodes. That's what it
Yes,
is. Like,
yes. They
thank
have their
Apparently
entire
that's-
discography. And
They're
vinyl,
not allowed to
space
call
vinyl.
it jizz anymore. It's called jats now or something.
you. Oh, I
Big
don't
mistake.
like that.
Jizz isn't family friendly, you know.
Jizz shot first.
Let's do
Yeah.
two final moments that I liked in this movie. Speaking of the
Yeah.
band, when they say, "Are we supposed to be playing for these pirates?" They're like, "Hey, don't get involved, man. Like, just like
Hey, man,
play the
stay out of the
music."
politics, yeah.
And then later, when Kermit is fighting with Sweetums and Sweetums beat those people up, and they go, "Are you on our side?" And
Yeah.
Sweetums like, "I love you guys. What are you talking
I
about?"
love you guys.
Yeah.
Listen, Sweetums is one of my favorite Muppets that's just like
Yes.
always there in the background.
Yeah.
Somehow
And-
we turned this into a Star Wars episode, but to focus back
Ah.
on the Muppets for a minute.
Every
yeah.
Muppet
Well, this is the end
episode.
of our Godfather episode.
Yeah. Oh wow! It always turns
Yeah, I
into
did
our
love that
pitches.
Sweetums scene.
And there's something to be said about the never-ending joy out of the sight gag of the Muppet hitting a wall and them scrunching the face. Like you get a lot of that, and it never misses.
That's what's so good about the curtain roll. I mean, just that they can do anything. Like they are Looney Tunes that are alive.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Rizzo became a popsicle in the Christmas one. It's great. So
That's right. I like that Rizzo, his reoccurring bit is that he's always just hungry and just wants to eat some food.
and
He's
nervous.
always looking for food. Yeah.
The rats.
Yep.
But we love him. We love the Muppets.
love
don't we,
them.
Maybe
folks?
too much, apparently.
We're man, Disney,
I
please.
don't
Eventually-
think about them when we're not doing this podcast, but when we're doing it, I'm like, you know what? The Muppets are the greatest thing for me.
I think eventually
We need
after our Planet of the Apes, we have to like do the rest of the Muppet movies as a
That's
series or
interesting.
something.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Muppet Planet of the Apes would be great.
Because that's an easy 6. Muppets of the Planet of the Muppets.
The Muppets. Planet of the Muppets.
Planet of the Muppets.
Gone of the Muppets.
Wow.
Dawn of the Planet of the Muppets.
Muppets will never kill Muppet.
Rise
Muppets
of the
together
Planet of the
strong.
Beneath the Planet of the Muppets. God, they're all good.
It's too
Wow.
good. All right. Well, you're welcome for the ideas that you're not going to use. I guess.
Yeah, Disney.
You
More like
bastards.
don't knee. All right. We'll catch you on the other side, my friends.
We're back. We've pitched as much Muppet material as we're legally allowed. So I think we're going to go ahead and give our final thoughts here on Muppet Treasure Island.
That's right.
The end of the duo book Muppet adaptations, unfortunately.
I wish there was
Yeah.
more. The 90s were a golden time of, they would just make these movies and then they just stopped. But
Maybe we'll get
How
Muppet
much-
Dune one day.
Muppet Dune.
Don't, guys. I'm
I
going to have
can't
to go ahead and
stop.
say I'm hitting pause right there. I will not allow you guys because that's 30 minutes.
I
when
could
you
riff
just
on
opened
that
up
for
my-
another 30 minutes.
The
Yeah,
Piggy
that is-
Jesuit. Okay, we'll put a
Jeez.
pause.
Mike.
I'm sorry. I'll have to stop.
Let me just
I
ask you
recuse
this: how
myself.
much would it cost to get the rights to the Muppets, where we could just start making these? Like, we'll just
To
buy the
free
Muppets
them.
from Disney.
Parody.
to
It's
free
parody
them.
law.
Yeah.
What is going
Yeah.
on? What are you people doing? They have the
Muppets.
studio, they let them they just what are they doing all day? Like they're just like making more and more Kermits to do what? What is he? They just and Jacob, these are returning guys. This is the same Gonzo from our last one that you pointed out is took
Yeah.
over and did Gonzo for a while.
Mhm.
Is this the Kermit guy who gets fired for being
Steve
mean or whatever
Whitmire. Yeah.
he is? Is it okay?
He got fired in
Jeez.
the 2010s for being
Yeah.
just an asshole to work with and
Good.
refusing to train other studies and that kind of thing. So
Maybe that's why he sucks in this movie a little bit, is because it's still this guy.
Yeah,
yeah.
we can't have.
But
Gonzo
if
dude's
they're,
fun.
it's like I think they're fresh bloods coming in, but what is that to
Well, I mean,
do?
I would-
It's
I would
to,
assume
again,
so because all the
go to the
original actors
Oscars?
are getting pretty old and probably dying soon.
Yeah.
Frank
Well, yeah,
Oz.
how do you keep it alive? Right. They're not doing. Disney's not doing anything
Yeah.
that I can tell to actually keep the brand relevant. I think our
We need
ideas
to-
would.
No,
That's
I
all.
think
Yeah, we
Frank
need
Oz
to
is like
write to-
89 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's
Wow.
pretty old. But we need to write to Brian Henson, who I'm sure is also pretty old, and say, "Hey, look, we want to
We
make
just
all
drop
these
it off
Muppet."
on La Brea.
He did that.
Yeah,
Dude, he did that Earth to Ned
Earth
show
to
that
Ned.
Nick Weiger was working
Yeah,
on from the Doughboys.
talk show
It-
style. It's like an alien Muppet who's a talk show host who interviews people and stuff.
Like it's like, but the stuff that, because I always here's the thing, I like Brian Henson. I think he's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even saying this in a nepo baby way. I think he plays the character Hoggle in Labyrinth, which of course his father directs. He
Mm-hmm.
he plays the main dog, who's like the side character in Jim Henson's Storytellers. He directs these movies. He was a performer. I thought he was incredible at. I talked when we did our Christmas one that he was very much a animatronics. Like he figured out, he really leaned into when they did the Ninja Turtles sides of stuff, like figuring out those things. So it seems like maybe that was more his passion. I just wonder about the guy, because he has to be pretty bitter that just some weird company owns his dad's thing, right? And that he doesn't just get to do it. But then I wonder, it's
Probably.
like, does he just want to sit around and be Kermit all day? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the most recent things they've done with the Muppets. To tell you,
Please.
there was a TV show called The Muppets Mayhem,
Right. That's based on
2023.
the band,
Mhm.
the Electric
Yeah, that
Mayhem
kind of
sort
follows
of.
the Dr. Teeth and the
Yeah.
Electric Mayhem in the
It's
music
an
business.
office style mockumentary, I believe. Is that true?
Maybe a Spinal Tap
That's
vibe.
Hilarious. Yeah,
yeah, I
sure.
think something
It's a
like
good
that.
idea.
And then in 2020 they had Muppets Now, which was sort of a return to the variety show type of thing, and
Right.
that was
Okay.
also directed by Kirk Thatcher.
Hey,
So he
Okay.
seems to just still be heavily
Thatchman.
involved with them. And those are on Disney Plus, of course.
Right.
Um, and then before that, they had Muppet Babies in 2018, which is kind of a return to the Muppet Babies, right? That we
Do
all
you
know from.
think they go to Brian before they go to Kirk Thatcher, Jacob, when they do like the Haunted or Disney or whatever?
I don't know. He
And he
doesn't
just doesn't
seem as
want to do
involved
it.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah.
It's a marketing problem too. Like they don't know what they have or how to market it. Maybe we're just the only listeners. Let us know if we just like Muppets too much and we should have a think.
Oh, one last thing, just sorry, real quick. John Henson, the guy who played Sweetums, he died very young as well, like 46. So I will
Oh,
say
geez.
Brian does not have his dad, mother, or brother anymore. So
That's
maybe
sad.
that also just makes him like hate this shit. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know, but you got to think
Well-
like to be part of a conglomerate, right? When his
Yeah.
dad is doing it, and even him, it's like the people doing this type of craft. It's for the love of the game. It's like because it's so technical and precise. Like it's not the min-maxing, make the corp, like you do it because you love it, and if the company that owns you doesn't give a shit about the craft, you're going to be lower priority. So then yeah, where are you as an artist at that point? It
Well, I
kind of sucks.
Really, I think the problem is Disney right now, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not just Muppets. Like across the board, they're struggling with their different IPs. Like MCU,
Yeah.
obviously, Star Wars. They're like, what do we do with these franchises going forward? They did have a big win recently with the X-Men 97. That's like the one good Marvel thing that everyone unanimously is like, this is a
Mhm.
great idea.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like they don't know what to do with these properties. And then there's this whole board fight. If you know anything about like the background of
Mhm.
what's going on with Disney
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, there's like a fight for control with the
struggle.
board, and
But
what direction do we go going forward, and that kind of
and
thing.
but Jacob, I know it's technically a different thing, and this is a different company. It's not even Disney; it's Warner Brothers. But like, isn't there something weird going on with like Sesame Street 2, where David Zaslav is like that doesn't bring in a profit or something?
Oh,
And
I'm
you're like,
sure, yeah.
isn't that on like fucking PBS?
It's
It's
not
like it's not
supposed to?
supposed to bring
Yeah,
in
it's
a
supposed
profit.
it's
Like,
for
what are you
kids. Yeah, it's an
fucking talking
educational kids
about?
show.
Supposed to educate
Yeah.
Knowing
kids
David
on how to be
Zaslav is
decent
like,
humans.
let's cancel
So like,
it.
but like, do the Muppet people like? I mean, they must cross pollinate, and like your day must be just built around like in the morning I fix Big Bird, and then like at night I fix Kermit, and like they all kind of get used, but like nobody like knows what to do with them.
You're
Or
just on
it's
call.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
The only recent Sesame Street thing I've heard is when Elmo was talking about mental health or whatever, and then Larry David like choked him,
Yo,
which was very funny.
I read the tweet responses of just everyone trauma dumping Elmo's tweet or whatever. It was
Yeah.
very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for this Muppet Treasure Island? I watched the original trailer on YouTube. Did you see it?
No.
No.
It's like brilliant because it sets up the most legendary pirate tale ever told, and they start showing all the sets and just humans, the greatest story, and then they cut to the Captain Smollett, and it's the old guy gets out, and then it reveals Kermit, and like that's like they set it up
That's
like this
good.
sweeping miniseries, and I was like, dude, that's how you do it. So the Muppet Father would be the same way, like you set it up
Yeah.
like it's a real
It would be.
remake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to make it more than I've ever wanted to make anything in my life.
Tell me old man Robert De Niro wouldn't come back to do that. Come on.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. That's a pretty cute idea, Jacob. I'll star in your little what's his name, Kermit the Frog. Yeah, that's pretty
Mhm.
cute. I'll do that.
Well,
You
I
didn't know
love it.
Kermit? you don't know who he is? You have like a 1-month-old daughter. You should show her Kermit, dog.
Yeah.
I can't stop. I want to say Froglione. I shouldn't, but I will.
I love it.
Let's
Let me
just
tell
do
you something.
one.
It ain't easy being green.
Everybody, Mike. Everybody, just do one pass on Muppet Dune real quick. 'Cause
Okay.
Here's my big contribution to it.
Muppet Adib.
Should it have any human beings in it. Because I would argue, since it's so weird and space alien, I think it should just be all motherfucking Muppets.
I'm
Sure.
okay with that. All
Yeah.
Muppets for that one. Yeah.
Muppet Harkonnen, like gross,
Yeah.
but like
Who
you
would
know,
be like
Harkonnens.
Jade Routha then?
yeah, who do they? But that's like fun to like again.
I think-
imagine they're putting a play on. So
Yeah.
they
Jade Routha's
like
animal.
being bad. Yeah.
Again, it would be really funny if you had like Javier Bardem as Stilgar as the only
Oh,
human, and he was just like,
God.
Oh,
"It's not Al-Gaib," but it was Kermit the Frog.
And Kermit was saying, "I know the secret name of this planet, Dune." He's like,
is that the pitch? Or is it Gonzo Al Gaib?
Stilgar just like starts crying.
Oh my god.
Oh God,
It's too good.
Well,
it's too
you have
good.
the best ideas, Disney. Call
Yeah.
us.
Muppet Shogun.
Oh yeah.
Imagine Gonzo in the little underwear that Hanjin wears when Kermit's
Uh-huh.
like,
When he's diving.
"Race me across the river."
Yeah.
Bring the
Look, these
whatever
ideas
to
write
the
themselves,
temple.
folks.
Yeah.
Oh God, Gonzo won't surrender his guns. Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Whew.
God.
All right.
All right.
We could go on for
I
3 more
ca-
hours.
Yeah, no, we gotta
Uh,
tune in next time for Muppet pitches. You know,
we
we'll get
turn
there.
into Billy Connolly. We turn into the Billy Bones characters. We live in a Muppet world when we do this
Yes.
podcast. We are the only humans in a Muppet world.
It's like
Absolutely.
we've drank in the water of life, and we see the infinite futures that are possible for the Muppets, and like no one is seeing. There's a narrow way through, and we know it.
There is the path forward, Mike, is
Uh-huh.
clear.
I'm leading the
God.
way. We are leading the way for the Muppets.
Yes.
Just get behind it. All right.
Kermit saying he's the voice from heaven.
Oh my God. I am leading the way.
Jesus,
Mm.
Jesus Christ, it's so good.
Yep.
Mm.
Wow.
All right. Well, I feel pretty good
Well-
about it. The Treasure Island's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It is. It is. This is a great choice. I'm very glad that we capped our series again. We're done with pirates.
We're
I'm
done
very
with
happy
pirates
we're
now.
done with pirating shenanigans. So thank you, listeners, for following along. We hope you enjoyed it as well. Please let us know if
Mhm.
you did. Hit us up at normies_like_us. What I want, don't go there and email us show episodes. Don't go and say, "Hey, this is a great idea." What I want is your Muppet pitches.
Muppet
Yes.
pitches, yes.
I want you to be writing in and saying, "Dear Normies like us, we will read these." If you submit if you submit a synopsis of your Muppet idea and
Give
at
me your
least
cast.
a couple cast members, we will go through it on another episode.
Absolutely.
I 100%.
And here's what we need to
promise.
do.
Yes.
We need to have a future episode where we, first of all, we need to buy some Muppet
Oh my God.
and then do a full episode as Muppets.
See if we can. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yep. Oh my
That's
God.
Where we're
Great.
just Muppets on camera.
Muppets like
Anyways,
us.
Muppets
Mike,
like
it's
us.
got to be, we have to be in the golden age of 3D printing stuff for Muppets, right? Do you think there's a lot
Huh.
of that goes into it? Probably,
It's
maybe,
more
or maybe
sewing
not.
machine craft, you'd think,
Yeah, if
If
only we knew some
anything-
people who could sew felt
Yeah.
and stuff.
cosplay people, but otherwise you don't want to go the AI route. I mean,
Yeah.
illustrate concepts,
Yeah.
but that's one way you could do like a slideshow. Don't make AI this, guys.
That is such an interesting thing to point out is that what the kids watch that are Muppets now what are those VTubers that are just, are they AI or are they real people? I don't know.
VTuber is a real person with like a filter over it that makes them like an anime
They
character
are
or something. But when they're
real.
talking, the mouth
Yes.
matches what they're saying. essentially.
Some of them have full
Yes.
body capture suits, and they
Yes.
but
Don't
it's
you think? Isn't that kind of what they're getting their fix on now, as far as like
Yeah.
performers in a fake
I think a lot of
reality? almost?
VTubers, there's like a weird
It's
sexual
sex.
element to
Yeah,
it.
they're anime
Yeah.
waifus. I
But
understand.
it's
Yeah.
a form of
You don't have to-
puppetry in a sense.
Don't dance around it, Jacob. Let me tell you this. I'm into Miss Piggy. There's some weird stuff for this too. So don't deny it.
Hatsune Miku
Wow.
just played Coachella, so
Hot Komi. That's right. Everybody went there to see that hologram.
but she is just a computer thing. Yeah,
Ah,
Mm.
okay.
It's like those
Alright.
AI pop stars and stuff.
you kids need
This is-
Muppets in your lives. You heathens, get some Muppets in
Yes.
your life.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna re-listen
Throw
to
away
this
these anime
episode.
waifus. Yeah.
I'm gonna re-listen to
Take
this
your Miss
episode in 2
Piggies.
years and be like, we talked about 500 different things in that episode. Titled
Yeah.
Normies Like Us, Muppet Treasure Island.
Well, because we
Let's
opened
go
a
off the
trove
rails.
of ideas.
And
We love
Vietnam. There's a
Muppets.
heavy Vietnam chunk up top.
Oh man, yeah.
Muppet Platoon. Okay, what's
And you guys explained to me what VTubers are as us exiting. So
Yeah.
Good.
We need to do M tubers.
Yes, Muppet Tubers, Mike. You
Guys,
maybe just invented something, my man. All right.
wow. Kermit reacts. I gotta stop.
boy.
I can't.
The fucking
We gotta
Fine
go.
brothers to sue the Muppets.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just telling you, we need to buy the rights from Disney, however much they cost, and we can.
Yeah, I
give
got
them so
$20.
much.
How much do they really want for them? What do they
Well, I
really
got
care?
You
half
could
a
be
ham
exploring every avenue. I don't understand. There should be an entire TikTok page that is dedicated to what the Muppets are doing every day. And I like, what does
Yeah.
it cost you to not get them that exposure?
I just think that it's been too long. The kids aren't in the Muppets these days, and they're not a profitable IP
Yeah.
for Disney, I guess. So it is what it is. But we've been
love
your
'em.
normies.
That's
Yes, we
right.
have.
We have.
Thank you, Normies. This is your host. I'm trying to think of a different movie.
Muppet
to
Colin.
now. I know, but Muppet Transformers, Colin.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez. I can't. Muppet of the Rings, Mike.
I like it.
And this is Muppet Platoon, Jacob. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. We're
Little
all getting
Muppet
shot up.
arms going.
Gonzo loves to smell a napalm in the morning. Oh, that's the other one.
That's right. Apocalypse Now.
Mupp.
And normies, let me just shout out.
The
Check out
stuffing.
we talked about Treasure Island. Check out Treasure Planet. I think it's probably on Disney Plus as well. It's worth checking out if you want another Treasure Island adaptation to watch.
Mike pointed out there's a 1970 anime. I'm gonna watch that. So
Yeah,
I gotta check that out as well.
I stumbled across it unknowingly. So now we know there's anime Treasure Island and anime Starship Troopers. Who knew? But now you
Wow.
do. So there you go.
That's right.
And a Muppets. Jesus. We got to get out of here.
Anna Muppets. Star
The Muppet Matrix.
Troopers.
Oh, wow.
The Mutrix.
The
Come on,
Mutrix.
There you go.
All right.
All right, let's go, you
Let's get outta
Muppets.
here.
You want to live forever?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.